Chapter 1871. Puppet. Chisu? Mu Shuixin also knew about the spirit-gathering medicinal hall. Now that she heard that these were the puppets of the spirit-gathering medicinal hall, her heart was filled with warmth. Whoever dares to step in will be killed without mercy. She quickly came back to her senses, and her cold voice resounded in the courtyard, carrying with it an austere aura. The two guards were originally ordered to protect Mu Shuixin. Now that they heard her command, they immediately stepped forward and stared coldly at the group of people in front of them. Qin Fei was a bit annoyed. She had underestimated this girl. She had actually borrowed a puppet from Chisu. It seemed like she already knew that this would happen. Unfortunately, because she did not place Mu Shuixin in her eyes, she did not bring the imperial family's experts. Mu Shuixin, you plotted against His Majesty. You deserve death. Qin Fei's eyes spun as she coldly said, "Don't think that you'll be safe with these puppets. Don't forget, the royal clan doesn't lack experts. Do you think these puppets can protect you? This consort advises you to confess to your crimes as soon as possible so that you don't implicate others." The other people she was referring to was Chisu. She was very clear about Mu Shuixin's feelings for Chisu. For Chisu, she would definitely bow down and admit her guilt. However, facing concubine Qin's threat, Mu Shuixin only sneered. "You said that I plotted against imperial father, but where's the evidence? Just based on your one-sided statement. I also said that you wanted to harm my father, but in the end you framed me. What nonsense are you saying?" Consort Qin flew into a rage out of humiliation. This consort has deep feelings for His Majesty. How could I plot against him? Even my son is filial, unlike an ingrate like you. Only you would plot against her. Mu Shuixin's lips curled up as disdain appeared in her eyes. Then why are you so sure that father has passed away? This? Concubine Zither sneered. Of course it's because I was worried about His Majesty, so I sent someone to investigate, but found that His Majesty had already passed away. Mu Shuixin tilted her head. Then can I ask Imperial Concubine Qin, what is the reason for my murder? How would this Empress know what reason you have? Anyway, people like you never need a reason to kill. Qin Fei had a look that said, I'm sure you killed the Emperor. Looking at her shameless face, a smile appeared on Mu Shuixin's face, and the killing intent in her heart intensified. Princess, if you are not humble, then open the door. If His Majesty is still alive, we will leave this place. The Grand Tutor furrowed his brows, and there was a hint of anger in his eyes. Qin Fei's face was filled with pride. Since the Emperor was already dead, Mu Shuixin was destined to be buried with him. No matter how she tried to stop him, she still couldn't escape the crime. But, just as Qin Fei was feeling pleased with herself, a deep and magnetic voice sounded from within the room. Let them in. In that instant, Qin Fei's face stiffened and her eyes widened as if she was hallucinating. His Majesty's voice? Impossible. Even if His Majesty was not poisoned to death, he would definitely not wake up. At the same time, the ministers present also heard that voice. Among these people, some were pleasantly surprised, some were in disbelief, and some were panicking. It's His Majesty. It's really His Majesty's voice. So I didn't hear wrong, His Majesty has woken up? Just when everyone was filled with different emotions, Mu Shuixin had already pushed open the door. He saw the man lying on the bed with his eyes open. At this moment, Mu Shuixin's voice was choked with emotions. All the grievances she had suffered over the past year had erupted at this moment. Chapter 1872. Father! Mu Jintian looked at her affectionately as usual. His eyes were filled with love, but she felt that it was unreal. Shuixin, I'm sorry. Mu Shuixin finally couldn't control her emotions anymore. She rushed into Mu Jintian's arms and burst into tears. Father, you're fine. That's great, you're finally fine. I thought I would never see you again in this life. It was Yun Luofeng. If it wasn't for Yun Luofeng, she would have met her father in the underworld. Her appearance had not only saved her father, but also saved her. Imperial concubine Qin froze at the door. She was drenched in cold sweat. She couldn't even move her feet, as if she was rooted to the ground. Imperial concubine Qin, didn't you say that His Majesty had passed away? And you said that it was the princess' fault? What's going on now? One of the loyal officials shouted in a stern voice, his face filled with anger. Imperial concubine Qin's face was pale and her lips were trembling. She had calculated so much, but she didn't expect His Majesty to wake up. It's over. This time, everything was over for her. Mu Xintian heard the official's words and his sharp gaze fell on Imperial concubine Qin. Imperial concubine Qin, shouldn't you explain to me what's going on? I've only been sick for a while. How can you bully my precious daughter like this? Your Majesty. Plop. Imperial concubine Qin knelt on the ground. Her face was covered in tears and her expression was pitiful. I didn't do it on purpose. Someone purposely used me to frame you. I'm innocent. Then, she looked at Mu Xuexin. Your Highness, it's all because I didn't trust others. Please forgive me. Beg for mercy? Mu Xuexin smiled coldly. Wasn't it too late? Imperial concubine Qin, you said that you were wronged, but what if you want me to be Qi Mo's concubine? Bang! When Mu Xuexin said that, Mu Xintian was furious. He clenched his fist and slammed it on the side of the bed. Because his body had not fully recovered, this punch did not have much strength. But everyone in the room was so scared that they did not even dare to breathe. It seems that a lot of things have happened while I was sick. My beloved daughter is only fit to be a concubine? As the last word fell, Qin Fei felt a powerful aura lock onto her. She was so scared that her legs went soft and she almost fell to the ground. Your Majesty, I didn't make such a decision. Someone must have framed me. Also, Mu Xuexin smiled. In front of all the officials, you framed me for dating Qi Mo when my father was seriously ill. You even claimed that I went to find you to bestow a marriage. What makes you think that I would like someone like Qi Mo? Cold sweat had already appeared on Qin Fei's forehead. Her body was weak and her gaze was unfocused. Mu Xintian clenched his fists, and the blue veins on his forehead bulged. He wished he could strangle this woman alive. Xuexin and Qi Su are engaged? Or do you think that Qi Su isn't as outstanding as Qi Mo? She wants to marry Qi Mo instead of Qi Su? Do you think others are stupid, or are you stupid? Hearing this, the officials did not dare to say anything. Didn't His Majesty mean that they were stupid? Who told them to believe Qin Fei's words? Your Majesty. Chapter 1873. Qin Fei wanted to defend herself, but was interrupted by Mu Xuexin again. When father was seriously ill, you used filial piety to force me to go to the Ling River mountain to find the medicine, but you didn't give me the imperial experts. Fortunately, I met Miss Yun and she saved my life. Otherwise, I would have died on the Ling River mountain. Mu Xintian's face became even uglier. He didn't expect that his daughter almost died on the Ling River mountain. What kind of place was the Ling River mountain? There were countless powerful spirit beasts there. If there were no experts, how could she leave safely? Qin Fei's behavior was equivalent to forcing his daughter to die. But Mu Xintian was very interested in Miss Yun, and he was even more grateful for her help. Otherwise, even if he woke up, he would be separated from his daughter. And Mu Xuexin continued as if she didn't see Qin Fei's increasingly pale face. There was no medicine on the Ling River mountain. I didn't find it. So you framed me as a coward who didn't dare to go to the Ling River mountain and said that I was an ingrate. Mu Xintian took a deep breath, and his heart ached as if it was being torn apart. What his daughter had suffered these days was not criticism. If it wasn't for her strong mind, she would have collapsed. Qin Fei, you really disappoint me. Mu Xintian slowly closed his eyes, and after a long time, he suddenly opened them with a murderous look in his eyes. Someone, take Qin Fei away and let her think about it, until she knows that she was wrong. Mu Xintian was obviously furious, but he didn't punish Qin Fei, but only let her think about it. Some of the officials who knew Mu Xintian's temper weren't shocked, but they knew that there must be a reason why His Majesty didn't punish Qin Fei. But Qin Fei didn't think so. She thought that she was going to die, but in the end, she only got to think about it. He didn't even put her in confinement. This This surprise came too suddenly. Did His Majesty really love her? Did he deliberately let her go? All of you can leave. I will stay in the princess residence for the time being. Mu Jintian waved his hand and closed his eyes. He was really afraid that he couldn't control himself and would kill Qin Fei. Soon, all the courtiers left, leaving only Mu Jintian and his daughter in the room. Father, Mu Shuixin curled her lips. This Qin Fei has bad intentions. She was the one who caused you to be poisoned, and even your illness is related to her. If it wasn't for Miss Yun, you would have died long ago. Hearing this, Mu Jintian became even more curious about Yun Luofeng. It seems that I have to thank that Miss Yun of yours this time. When I have time, I will personally visit her to thank her. Mu Shuixin was a little annoyed. Imperial father, you know what she has done. Why did you let her off? Shuixin. Mu Jintian sighed helplessly. Because I want to know whose son Mu Ran is. Mu Ran was concubine Qin's son and the only prince. Mu Shuixin was stunned. What did father mean by that? Actually, before he fell ill, father had already learned of one thing. Due to the years of worry and exhaustion, he has long been unable to have children. But this doesn't mean that Mu Ran isn't your son. Perhaps when you gave birth to Mu Ran, concubine Qin was pregnant. So, Mu Jintian smiled faintly. I sent someone to secretly take his blood and do a blood test. It turns out that I have no relationship with him. But before I had time to investigate, I was bedridden. Do you think that I will let her off after being cuckolded? Chapter 1874. He didn't punish Qin Fei for the time being because he wanted to know who was having an affair with Qin Fei. Imperial father, you can also punish Qin Fei. What if that man exposed himself when he saw that Qin Fei was in danger? Mu Shuixin's eyes flickered and her voice was charming. This is a very risky method. If that man is afraid of death, would Qin Fei come out when she's in danger? Mu Jintian's eyes were cold. At that time, he would have definitely escaped. Shuixin, you must keep this matter a secret. When that man shows himself, I'll definitely make them wish they were dead. What he couldn't tolerate was what concubine Qin had done to his daughter in the past year. Thinking about the result of the blood test, Mu Jintian let out a deep sigh. No wonder he had never liked his youngest son. It was because they were not related by blood. No matter what, he could not bring himself to like him. On the contrary, Shuixin was only his daughter, but she was his darling. However, Mu Jintian's eyes flashed with sharpness. I won't punish Qin Fei openly, but I can do something in secret. Shuixin, don't worry. Imperial father will avenge you. It was night and the moonlight was like water. Qin Fei lay on the chaise lounge with a smile on her face. I've made so many mistakes in the past few days, but His Majesty still tolerated me. I must hold a very high position in his heart. Sooner or later, I'll be able to push that damned girl down. She picked up the teacup in front of her and was about to take a sip. Suddenly, there was a sound that caused the quilt in her hand to fall. Who? Bang! As soon as she finished speaking, the door was kicked open and a group of black-clothed men rushed in, punching and kicking Qin Fei. Who are you people? How dare you? I won't let you off. Ah! The sharp pain made Qin Fei scream even more furiously. Is it that bitch Mu Shuixin? She must have sent you guys. Go back and tell her to wait for me. I'll make her die without a burial. As she said this, Qin Fei's voice became somewhat hoarse and her last words were drowned out by her cries of pain. Outside the room, the young prince saw a group of people ganging up on his imperial concubine mother, and a wave of terror came over him. Then he ran away without looking back, afraid that these men in black would beat him up as well. At this moment, Qin Fei didn't think that the son she had raised would be so careless. In order to not drag her down, he didn't care about her at all. If she saw the scene of the little prince turning around and running away, would her heart turn cold? Of course, Qi Zhang and his son didn't know what had happened to Qin Fei. They were not having an easy time these days. Qi Su hated him to the core and had no father-son relationship with him. Therefore, he often found an excuse to beat him up. Unfortunately, Qi Su was protected by azure wings, so Qi Zheng had no response. He wanted to resist, but was quickly beaten down by azure wings. Now, he could only hope that Qin Fei would discover his suffering and come to save him. Unfortunately, Qin Fei was heavily injured and was bedridden for an entire 3 months before she could get out of bed. During these 3 months, those people didn't come to beat her up. Instead, they would bring a man to rape her every day. Chapter 1875. She had tried to complain to the emperor, but the emperor didn't believe what Mu Shuoxin had done to her. What made her even more terrified was that on the night of the beating, she had screamed so loudly but no one had heard her. It was as if there was no one around. It must be Mu Shuoxin. The emperor had woken up and she had regained her power. Only she had the ability to do such a thing. However, what made Qin Fei even more terrified was yet to come. 3 months of inhumane living had made her pregnant. She panicked, but it was hard for her to say it out loud. She was afraid that His Majesty would find out. After all, His Majesty hadn't doted on her for 3 months. If she was found to be pregnant, she would definitely be killed and lose His Majesty's love. Thinking of this, Qin Fei bit her lips and shouted, "Come, prepare the carriage for this consort. This consort wants to leave the palace to see elder brother." Abortion in the palace wasn't realistic. She had to go to the Qi family to solve this child. Yes, Qin Fei. The palace maid responded and left to prepare the carriage. Qi family. As the announcement of Qin Fei's arrival was announced, the servants at the door knelt in a row. She slowly walked down from the carriage and walked towards the Qi family's door. "This consort is here. Why hasn't elder brother come to receive this consort?" Qin Fei raised her eyebrows, her face full of dissatisfaction. If it was in the past, Qi Zheng and his son would have already received her. Why weren't they here yet? Imperial concubine Qin is really arrogant, putting on airs in my Qi family? A cold voice came from behind, causing Qin Fei's expression to darken. She looked coldly at the people walking over. There were 3 people slowly walking over. 2 of them were Qi Su and his sister. She didn't stop and turned to look at Yun Luofeng. In that instant, she clenched her fists so hard that her nails dug into her flesh. This face was too beautiful. So beautiful that she had been jealous for many years. Even though she knew that the person standing here wasn't Yun Yueqing, she still couldn't help but feel jealous. Moreover, this face was even more beautiful than Yun Yueqing's and even younger. "Qi Su." Qin Fei snorted and turned to look at Qi Su, asking coldly, "Why are you here?" Qi Su sneered, "This is my home. Where else would I be if not here?" "Impudent!" Qin Fei shouted angrily. "Who said this is your home? This is my Qi family. Who do you think you are to have the qualifications to step into my Qi family's doorstep?" He was just a person who had been expelled from his family and had no right to enter the Qi family. Qi Su's lips curled into a sarcastic smile. "Imperial concubine Qin, you seem to have forgotten that you're already married. I, Qi Su, am the young master of the Qi family. How am I not a member of the Qi family? As for you, I think the one who should scram is you. How dare you?" When the eunuch saw Qi Su acting so rudely, he shouted. The guards at the side also drew their weapons and pointed them at Qi Su. "Qi Su!" Qin Fei walked arrogantly towards Qi Su. "Ben Gong is His Majesty's concubine and you are just a commoner. In front of Ben Gong is not inferior and you dare to be so rude?" Qi Su curled his lips. "When Master was still alive, His Majesty had already exempted me from kneeling. I don't even need to kneel to His Majesty. What right do you have?" Qin Fei's expression changed. She had really forgotten about this. When she thought of this, she gritted her teeth and turned her furious gaze towards Yun Luofeng. "Why don't you kneel when you see Ben Gong?" The Qi siblings had His Majesty's decree and did not need to kneel to the imperial family. This woman was just an ordinary person. If she used her power to suppress people, no one would dare to say anything. Chapter 1876. Yun Luofeng glanced at her indifferently. "Scram!" At that moment, Qin Fei's expression was ferocious. Good, very good. These people didn't even put her, the imperial concubine, in their eyes? A commoner dares to be so arrogant? This concubine will immediately order the annihilation of your entire family. Qin Fei's words caused the Qi siblings to unconsciously turn to look at her. Their eyes were filled with mockery and schadenfreude. This Qin Fei was as brainless as always. She didn't even understand the situation and dared to be so arrogant? What's more, His Majesty was saved by Miss Yun. She still dared to use her authority to suppress her? Not scram. Yun Luofeng's eyes gradually darkened and his lips curved into an evil smile. Then do you want to die? Boom! In an instant, a powerful pressure pressed down. Under this pressure, Qin Fei's breathing became sluggish, as if a knife was pressed against her neck. She actually felt that death was so close. Yes, Qin Fei felt the aura of death. Even her eyes were filled with shock as she retreated step by step. No, impossible. Not only did this woman look similar to Yun Yueqing, even her eyes were as terrifying as her own. You! Qin Fei took a deep breath. This concubine will not argue with you for now and will spare your life. This concubine is here to see Qi Zheng. Unrelated people, please leave. After saying this, she led a group of people to enter the Qi residence. Yun Luofeng looked at her back and curled his lips. Did I give you permission to leave? Qin Fei's body stiffened and her face became extremely pale. She turned her head and suppressed the anger in her heart. What do you want? Didn't you want me to kneel? Yun Luofeng slowly walked forward and lifted his chin slightly, looking down from above. Now kneel! How dare you? Qin Fei was furious and couldn't control her temper anymore. However, just as she finished speaking, she felt a pain in her knee and knelt in front of Yun Luofeng with a bang. Her expression was extremely ugly and her eyes were filled with anger. The surrounding people were scared silly. This woman told Qin Fei to kneel and she really knelt? When did Qin Fei become so easy to talk to? Qi Zheng had been standing next to Yun Luofeng the entire time, staring coldly at Qin Fei who was kneeling on the ground. When he thought of what these people had done after his master had disappeared, he wanted to tear them into pieces. You! Qin Fei's face was livid with anger, her whole body trembling. What are you waiting for? Capture this woman. When the palace guards saw this, they drew their swords and stepped forward. However, before they could reach Yun Luofeng's side, Qi Su suddenly attacked. Before they could see Qi Su's movements clearly, they felt a foot land on their chests. Their bodies felt heavy and they fell backwards. With this fall, the guards all felt like their bodies were falling apart. They were in so much pain that they couldn't get up from the ground. Qin Fei struggled to get up, her body trembling even more. Where is Qi Zheng? Hurry up and ask him to come out. Are we going to let this bastard treat his aunt like this? Aunt? These two words made Qi Su want to laugh. At a time like this, he still wanted to put on the airs of a senior in front of him. Did they really think he could be bullied? Your Highness. As Qin Fei's expression became uglier, a sorrowful and angry voice came from behind. Your Highness, you've finally come. You have to take justice for me. Hearing this, Qin Fei's expression became slightly better. However, thinking of Qi Su's rudeness towards her, her face darkened again. She turned to look at the people walking over. Chapter 1877. Her gaze slowly swept across Qi Zheng and his son's faces before finally noticing the delicate woman who was following closely behind. She frowned and disgust flashed across her eyes. Why did Big Brother bring this woman back? Although she didn't like Lin Qing, as a woman, she hated seductresses who seduced men even more. This woman's delicate and pretentious expression made her even more unhappy. However, she also understood that this wasn't the time for her to look for trouble. Big Brother, why did you come so late? Didn't you see that little bastard Qi Su looking for trouble with me? Your Qi family must give me a reason today. Qin Fei's expression darkened as she shouted harshly. Qi Su didn't refute her words. The corners of his lips curled up slightly as his eyes were filled with disdain and mockery. Hearing this, a trace of awkwardness flashed across Qi Zheng's face. He also wanted to come out earlier, but this damned man was watching him closely and didn't give him a chance at all. At this point, he glanced at Yun Yi behind him and gritted his teeth. Now that Qin Fei was here, He wanted to see how these people would bully him. In reality, Qi Zhang could only come out because Yun Luofeng had sent a soul message to Yun Yi, allowing him to let Qi Zhang's family of 3 leave the forbidden grounds. That was why they had appeared here earlier. After all, if they wanted to deal with Qin Fei, they would have to deal with the Qi family as well. However, the corners of Yun Luofeng's lips curled up as she narrowed her eyes slightly. A trace of a smile flashed across her eyes. She didn't intend to make a move and wanted Qi Zhang to deal with it himself. "Your Highness, I also wanted to come out earlier," Qi Zhang cried with snot and tears running down his face. "But these people won't let me and I have no choice. Furthermore, Qi Zhang has brought these outsiders to my Qi family these days and wants to steal the Qi family's assets. He's even imprisoned me. I have no choice." "What?" Hearing this, Qin Fei gritted her teeth in hatred as her gaze swept towards Qi Su. "Little bastard, who allowed you to steal the Qi family's assets? You've been expelled from the Qi family, what right do you have?" Her voice was filled with sharpness. If the Qi family's assets were in Qi Zhang's hands, she might be able to enjoy them. But if Qi Su took them, based on this brat's personality, he definitely wouldn't give her a single copper coin. How could she allow that? "I know your spirit-gathering liquid and puppets belong to the Qi family. You stole from the Qi family and dared to sell them to the second prince. How dare you?" Qin Fei raised her brows and shouted. These two were worthy of being siblings. They could shamelessly claim other people's treasures as their own. Qi Zhang was overjoyed. With imperial concubine Qin taking charge, let's see who Qi Su could find to help her this time. Pa! As soon as Qin Fei finished speaking, Qi Su suddenly appeared in front of her and gave her a slap. "I don't want to hit women, but some people are asking for it, so don't blame me." Qin Fei was stunned. She didn't think that Qi Su would hit her in front of so many people. How could they accept this? "Qi Su, looks like you want to die." Qin Fei's eyes suddenly burst out with coldness as she said through gritted teeth. "As expected of that bitch Lin Qing's woman. She has no upbringing at all. She even dares to hit her aunt." Qi Su's aura suddenly changed. He grabbed Qin Fei's neck and lifted her up. His voice was extremely cold as he said, "Say that again?" At this moment, Qin Fei's expression finally changed. Her heart was filled with anger. Those guards were really useless. All of them were so weak and Qi Zhang didn't even come to help her. Chapter 1878. In fact, those guards had been injured by Qi Zhang and had yet to get up. As for Qi Zhang, didn't he see that Yun Yi was still behind him? Would he dare to act rashly? Even Qi Mo, who had always been arrogant and domineering, did not say a word, let alone Qi Zhang. It wasn't that he had forgiven Qi Su, but ever since Qi Su returned to the Qi family, he had been living like a different person. Would he still dare to go against Qi Su after being tortured so badly? Unless Qin Fei was confident that she could kill Qi Su. Yes, at that moment, Qi Mo had a feeling that Qin Fei didn't have the ability to kill Qi Su. Otherwise, Qi Su wouldn't be so arrogant. "Brat, you've got guts. How dare you hurt my imperial concubine?" Right at this moment, a cold shout came from the sky and exploded in the crowd. Qi Su felt his chest tighten when he heard that voice, as if a hammer had smashed into his chest. His hand that was holding Qin Fei suddenly loosened and she fell to the ground. The old man stood in the void with his hands behind his back and looked at the noisy crowd coldly. Anger gradually appeared in his eyes. "Old Wang, save me!" Qin Fei cried out as if she had seen her savior when she saw the old man. Old Wang didn't say anything. He stared at Qi Su coldly with a murderous look in his eyes. With a boom, a powerful aura crushed over. Qi Su felt a pain in his chest and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Heavenly God. This old man was the heavenly god of drifting wind country. Qi Su suppressed the shock in his heart and quickly thought of a way to tell Mu'er about this. However, just as Qi Su was about to collapse under the pressure, a snow-white figure floated over and stood in front of him. "Qi Su, take care of your sister." Qi Ling had also been affected by the old man's appearance. Her face was pale, and she couldn't even speak. Qi Su was shocked. He didn't know why the pressure disappeared when Miss Yun stood in front of him. Could it be that Miss Yun was also a heavenly god? That was impossible? Miss, are you going to meddle in other people's business? The old man's eyes darkened. I just heard someone report that someone is taking advantage of his power to bully others and humiliate the members of the imperial family. This time, I'm only here to seek justice for the imperial family. You'd better not get involved in this matter. Just now, Concubine Qin's men had already rushed to the palace to ask for reinforcements. Old Wang was cultivating when he heard the report and immediately rushed over. Although he was already a god-king powerhouse, he still had to listen to His Majesty's orders in the palace. After all, His Majesty was protected by two ultimate gods. This Qin Fei was the person in His Majesty's heart, and His Majesty didn't punish her for bullying the princess. It could be seen that His Majesty was sincere towards Qin Fei. He would definitely stand by Qin Fei's side unconditionally. Even if Qin Fei was wrong. Old Wang, don't let this woman go. She's in cahoots with Chisu. Not only did she look down on the imperial family, she even insulted His Majesty. She even forced me to kneel and said that only members of the royal family are worthy of kneeling to her. Qin Fei sneered and glared at Yun Luofeng. Although there were many people watching, Qin Fei thought that no one dared to offend her. As expected, no one dared to defend Yun Luofeng and Chisu after hearing Qin Fei's words. The world was indeed fickle and human nature was fickle. Oh! Old Wang's eyes darkened and he said coldly, "Only members of the royal family are worthy of kneeling to you? Humph! I want to see what ability you have to be so arrogant." Chapter 1879. He didn't doubt Qin Fei's words. No matter what Qin Fei said, he had decided to stand on her side. Since that was the case, there was no need for her to frame him. It seems that the elites of the sovereign family are just SOSO. The corners of Yun Luofeng's lips curled up. Looks like all of you have cultivated your brains to the point that you can't tell right from wrong. Just because she's the imperial family's empress, she can come and take things by force? Aren't you afraid of losing your reputation? Old man Wang's face darkened. Compared to Yun Luofeng, he trusted Qin Fei more. Yun Luofeng slowly stepped into the air. Her white robes were devastatingly beautiful, like a woman in a painting. Her beauty was indescribable. Besides, Imperial concubine Zither has no say in this drifting wind country. After saying that, Yun Luofeng was already standing high up in the sky, facing off against Elder Wang. However, his aura did not lose out to Elder Wang at all. Humph! No matter what the reason is, you won't be able to escape death today. It would seem that the cultivators of the imperial family were so ignorant of right and wrong that they had no regard for the reputation of the drifting wind country. After he finished speaking, Elder Wang didn't waste any more words and swiftly charged towards Yun Luofeng. His hands were like eagle claws, powerful and fast. Boom! Yun Luofeng retreated and attacked Old Man Wang. Their palms collided in the air. At that moment, everyone could clearly feel that under this powerful force, even the space was distorted. In that instant, Yun Luofeng retreated several steps. A trickle of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. "Miss Yun, Master." Chi Su's expression changed drastically. Qi Ling was so anxious that she burst into tears. If Aunt Yun was still around, who would dare to be so presumptuous? Once Aunt Yun left, they became so lawless. Ling-er, Qi Su's breath froze. "Hurry and find Mu-er." Qi Ling's eyes lit up. How could she forget about Sister Mu? Thinking of this, she quickly turned around and rushed in the direction of the princess mansion. "Quick! Stop that bitch!" Qin Fei gritted her teeth and yelled. Just as the guard was about to step forward, he was stopped by Qi Zheng. "Let's see who dares to touch Ling-er." His aura was very strong. It blotted out the sky and covered the earth as it pressed down on the group of guards. Sure enough, under this imposing aura, these guards didn't dare to move. "Big brother, what are you doing?" Qin Fei turned to Qi Zheng angrily. "Hurry up and capture this little bastard." Qi Zheng was in a difficult situation. He did not dare to act rashly. Otherwise, the man standing behind him would definitely beat him up again. Qin Fei stomped her feet in anger, Could it be that Big Brother still cared about the relationship between father and son at this time? The funny thing was that Qin Fei didn't expect that Qi Zhang didn't dare to make a move because of Yun Yi and instead thought that he was sentimental. If Qi Zhang was really a father and son person, why would he have expelled Qi Su from the Qi family? He even wanted to sell Qi Ling. In the sky, Yun Luofeng lifted his head to look at the elder in front of him. A cold light flashed across his pitch-black eyes. Was this the strength of a heavenly god? Once one reached the level of a divine being, it would be difficult for one to fight someone of a higher level. Fortunately, his physical constitution was relatively strong. Otherwise, he would not have suffered such a light injury from that palm strike. Little girl, I admit that you're quite talented. You've reached the level of a divine being at such a young age. Unfortunately, no matter how talented you are, you'll still lose to me. The elder scoffed coldly, his face expressionless. Yun Luofeng exhaled a mouthful of foul air. Then, under everyone's gaze, she slowly closed her eyes. No one knew what she was doing and they were all in a daze. Could it be that this woman knew that she was going to lose, so she wasn't going to resist? Chapter 1880. However, not long after, dragon scales grew on the woman's body. Yes, it was indeed an armor in the shape of dragon scales, shining brightly under the sunlight. Qin Fei, who had been observing the entire time, widened her eyes as greed flashed across her eyes. This dragon scale armor also belongs to our Qi family. Qi Su, this little bastard, actually dared to steal our Qi family's treasure just to win a woman's favor. Elder Wang, you must strip this armor off this woman. She's not worthy of such a good thing. Hearing this, Qi Su curled his lips as a mocking smile flashed across his eyes. Your Highness Qin Fei, why don't you just say that all the treasures in this world belong to your Qi family? In an instant, everyone's gazes landed on Qin Fei. Although the crowd didn't dare to say a word due to the royal family's pressure, their hearts were as clear as a mirror. However, they didn't expect Qin Fei to be so greedy. No matter what others took out, she would say it was hers. Old Wang's eyes darkened as he looked at Qin Fei with dissatisfaction. He had believed Qin Fei's words earlier, but now, he was a little hesitant. Qin Fei couldn't be blamed for her lack of knowledge. However, he clearly knew that this dragon scale armor was formed from consuming dragon blood. Of course, not all dragon blood had such an effect. Only 1 in 10,000 dragon blood could condense dragon scale armor. The process was naturally very arduous. He didn't think that anyone in the Qi family could endure this kind of hardship. No matter how much doubt old Wang had, he didn't say it out in front of everyone. His face darkened slightly. Little girl, looks like I've underestimated you. You actually have such a good thing on you. Since that's the case, I'll use all my strength to fight you. Whoosh! This time, old Wang didn't hold back and threw a punch at Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng's figure was like a light breeze as he quickly dodged old Wang's attack. Then, he cleverly circled behind old Wang and a long sword suddenly appeared in his hand. The sword descended from the sky and slashed down. Old Wang sensed the cold light behind him and hurriedly dodged to the side. With a boom, the long sword created a long pit in the ground, and old Wang was in an even more sorry state. Originally, there were many people on the street who were watching the show, but they were frightened by the battle between the two of them. They retreated one after another, afraid that this battle would affect them. The battle was not over yet. Although Yun Luofeng was a god spirit, her speed was no slower than a god king's. Furthermore, with the protection of the dragon scale armor, her body's toughness had increased significantly. Therefore, those with lower strength could only see sparks flying in the air, unable to see the battle between the two. Qin Fei panicked. Elder Wang, didn't you say you were going to fight her with your full strength? This girl is just a god. Even if you use 1/3 of your power, you can still defeat her immediately. Why are you still going easy on her? Hurry up and kill her. Give me back my dragon scale armor. Old Wang, who was in the air, had already taken out his weapon. He no longer dared to underestimate his opponent. However, even so, he was still forced into a sorry state against Yun Luofeng, who had the protection of the dragon scale armor. Old Wang, who was already filled with anxiety, heard Qin Fei's words and his face immediately darkened. A bitter taste appeared on the corner of his mouth. He never thought that one day he would be forced into such a state by a little girl. Chapter 1881. Especially after the battle, Old Wang's spiritual power was rapidly depleted, and he gradually felt powerless. On the contrary, Yun Luofeng's attacks became more ferocious, as if he possessed limitless spiritual power. Old Wang became increasingly anxious. He had come out in a hurry this time. Otherwise, he would not have been forced to this extent even if he had called the other old men. Just as Elder Wang was about to be unable to hold on any longer, a clear voice suddenly rang out from within the crowd. "Old Wang, you help me. If you dare to hurt Chi Su and Miss Yun, I will not let you off." Old Wang's expression suddenly changed. Why was the fourth princess here? However, the fourth princess and Chi Su were engaged, so it was normal for her to be here. But what did she mean by hurting this woman? He was clearly the one who was being bullied, alright? Mu Shuoxin quickly rushed in from the crowd. Her face was flushed red, evidently because she had run too quickly. Qi Ling followed behind her, also panting heavily. She was so tired that she could not even speak. However, when she saw the scene in the void, Mu Shuoxin was dumbfounded. What was going on? Wasn't Miss Yun being bullied by Old Wang? Why did it feel like Old Wang was at a disadvantage? When Yun Luofeng saw that Mu Shuoxin had arrived, she did not put away her sword and calmly walked down from the void. When Old Wang saw this, he rushed towards Yun Luofeng in a flash. A cold light flashed across his eyes and he was about to attack her. However, it was as if Yun Luofeng had eyes on her back. When Old Wang was in front of her, she suddenly turned around and her palm landed on Old Wang's chest. Elder Wang hadn't expected his sneak attack to be discovered, so he hadn't put up any defenses. The punch hit his heart, causing him to cough up a mouthful of blood. He fell from the sky and smashed into the ground, creating a large crater. In the pit, he panted heavily. He felt that his heart was in so much pain that even breathing was difficult. Fortunately, he was a heaven god. He only needed to rest for a while before he gradually recovered. If he was slightly weaker, he might have died immediately. Qi Zheng's face was already pale with fear. If it was this woman instead of Yun Yi who had attacked him, he would definitely not have been able to withstand the blow and would have died immediately. When he thought of this, Qi Zheng felt somewhat fortunate. He was glad that he was still alive. The moment Yun Luofeng fell from the sky, the time limit of the dragon scale armor was already up. Otherwise, she wouldn't have stopped so quickly. "Miss Yun, are you all right?" Mu Shuoxin recovered from her shock and heaved a sigh of relief when she saw that Yun Luofeng was safe and sound. No matter what, Yun Luofeng was her father's savior. If something really went wrong and she was injured by the royal family, she would never forgive herself for the rest of her life. "Princess." Without waiting for Yun Luofeng to speak, Elder Wang had already climbed out of the pit. His hand was clutching his heart and his face was pale. "I know that you and Chi Su were engaged, but now, Chi Su and this woman are humiliating the royal family. You can't protect them." "Insult the royal family?" Mu Shuoxin smiled coldly. She looked at Qin Fei, whose face had turned pale, and a cold light flashed in her eyes. "Did you see it with your own eyes or heard it with your own ears?" This? Elder Wang was stunned. It was Imperial concubine Qin who said that. She also said that this woman forced her to kneel, and even claimed that only members of the royal family were worthy of kneeling to her. Chapter 1882. Mu Shuoxin's expression turned even colder. "How can you believe Qin Fei's words? Shouldn't you be thanking me if I say that Qin Fei has an affair with someone and is pregnant with a bastard child?" It was just a casual remark, but it made Qin Fei's heart skip a beat and her face turn pale. It was indeed Mu Shuoxin's doing. Otherwise, how would she know that she was pregnant? Thinking of this, she gritted her teeth in hatred. "Princess, how can you speak so casually? Framing others?" Old Wang was very displeased. To be honest, he was very unhappy with how His Majesty doted on the fourth princess. The fourth princess was just a woman. No matter how much he doted on her, she would still have to be betrothed to someone else. It was better to give more care to the little prince. The little prince was a part of the royal family. Mu Shuixin shrugged. You already said that I'm framing her. So why do you believe Qin Fei's words? Old Wang's expression was very ugly. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. I saw Qi Su trying to strangle Her Highness with my own eyes. She should be executed for plotting against the imperial consort. This time, he wanted to see how the fourth princess was going to help these people. Plotting against the royal family was a capital crime. That's right. Suddenly, a powerful voice sounded from behind the crowd. Plotting against the royal family is indeed a capital crime. With that, a middle-aged man walked over under the protection of a group of people. The man was handsome and looked somewhat similar to Mu Shuixin. The aura of the people beside him wasn't any weaker than Old Wang. A divine king expert? There was only one person in the drifting wind country who could bring so many divine kings with him. Before the crowd could guess the man's identity, Old Wang and the guards knelt down. Greetings, Your Majesty. Joy flashed on Qin Fei's face. His Majesty said that plotting against the royal family was a capital crime? Could it be that he was here to stand up for her? That made sense. She had plotted against the princess, but His Majesty didn't punish her. This meant that he must have treated her as his true love. Now that she was almost killed, how could His Majesty not do anything? Perhaps it was because of the Emperor's arrival. But Qin Fei raised her head and said arrogantly, Qi Su, what else do you have to say? I'm a consort, and you dare to humiliate me? You're simply disrespecting His Majesty. Qi Zhang and Qi Mo heaved a sigh of relief. His Majesty was here, and he was clearly on Imperial concubine Qin's side. This time, no matter how powerful Yun Luofeng was, he wouldn't be able to escape death. Qi Su, Qi Zheng's face was cold. If you let your mother apologize to Fei Fei, I will save her life. Of course, she's no longer the first madam of the Qi family. She can only be a servant. From now on, Fei Fei will be the only madam of the Qi family. Jian Feifei's face was full of smiles, and she could not hide the pride in her eyes. Lin Qing, no matter how hard you try, you will never be able to defeat me in this lifetime. From now on, I'm the Qi family's matriarch, and you're just a servant. I'll pay you back for what you and your son have done to me these past few days. But Jian Feifei did not reveal her thoughts. She said softly, Husband, isn't this too cruel? After all, Lin Qing has given birth to your children. Why don't you let her be your concubine? Feifei, you're so kind, unlike that evil woman, Lin Qing. Since you're so magnanimous, I'll treat you well. These people talked among themselves and did not notice the smile on Qi Su's face and the cold look on Mu Jintian's face. I haven't finished speaking. Plotting against the royal family is a capital crime. However, Imperial concubine Qin has already been demoted to a commoner. She's no longer my concubine. Chapter 1883. Qin Fei's smile froze. The smugness in Qi Zheng's and Jian Feifei's eyes hadn't disappeared yet. They were dumbfounded by Mu Jintian's words. What did His Majesty say? Qin Fei was no longer a member of the royal family? Your Majesty! Imperial concubine Qin screamed and looked at him with a pitiful gaze. What has this subject's concubine done for your Majesty to treat this subject's concubine like this? Mu Jintian's face darkened. You bullied my benefactor and you bullied him. What should I do? Qin Fei's face paled and she asked weakly, Your Majesty? What do you mean? When did I bully your benefactor? Before she could finish her words, Mu Jintian interrupted her coldly. Miss Yun is my savior. You brought people to bully her, and you still want me to stand up for you? Boom! As soon as Mu Jintian finished speaking, he struck out with his palm. Qin Fei's body flew 100 feet away and fell to the ground with a bang. Old Man Wang was scared out of his wits. A chill ran from the bottom of his feet to the bottom of his heart. He shrunk his shoulders, subconsciously trying to reduce his presence. All of this had occurred too unexpectedly, and it was to the extent that he was still unable to react to it. Ah! Qin Fei let out a shrill scream. She clutched her stomach tightly as blood flowed out from her stomach. Her face was extremely pale. Qi Zheng wasn't proficient in medicine, but he had learned a few tricks when Yun Yueqing was around. He was startled when he saw Qin Fei's lower body bleeding. If it was just her period, there wouldn't be so much blood. Could it be? Qi Zheng was overjoyed, but he calmly walked in front of Qin Fei and felt her pulse. When he felt her pulse, his expression suddenly became sorrowful. Your Majesty, the Empress has a miscarriage. Even if you don't love the Empress anymore, the child in her stomach is your child. Even if you don't give face to the monk, give face to the Buddha and save the Empress. He obviously didn't do it for Qin Fei, he just wanted to live. If Qin Fei had a child, His Majesty would definitely soften and the Qi family would be able to escape. However, Qi Zheng didn't notice that Qin Fei's face became paler and paler. She gripped her skirt tightly and her eyes were filled with despair. It's over. This time, it was all over no matter what he said. Ever since I fell sick, I have never touched Qi Qin again. How could she get pregnant? Perhaps it was because concubine Qin had angered Mu Xintian so much that he didn't even think about it. What? His Majesty did not touch imperial concubine Qin? Qi Zheng's face instantly turned pale, and he said timidly, Your Majesty, are you mistaken? Imperial concubine Qin had always been gentle and virtuous. How could she do such a dissolute thing? Your Majesty must have pampered her ladyship and forgotten. At this moment, Qi Zheng's words came out without thinking, which made Mu Xintian's face turn cold. Humph! Concubine Qin couldn't bear the loneliness and betrayed us. Now she wants us to be the scapegoat. Ever since I recovered, I have spent the past few months in my study. You can find out from the records. Mu Xintian's eyes were cold. Guards, take concubine Qin back and put her in custody. I'll deal with her after I find out the truth. Hearing this, Qin Fei hurriedly got up from the ground and staggered towards Mu Xintian. Your Majesty, I'm innocent. It's Mu Xuexin. She deliberately framed me. Hearing that Qin Fei wanted to frame Mu Xuexin, Mu Xintian became even angrier. Concubine Qin is unrepentant and wants to frame the fourth princess. She's guilty. Chapter 1884. Your Majesty, I'm not lying, right? The Spirit Gathering Hall. The Spirit Gathering Hall was opened by the second prince of Tianqi country. Qi Su is already a citizen of Tianqi country. He betrayed the country. Mu Xuexin must know about this. They're working together to deal with Drifting Wind country. My son is the only prince of Drifting Wind country. She's doing this to drag my son down with her. Qin Fei panicked and wanted to push the blame onto Mu Xuexin. Even if she couldn't escape death, she wouldn't let these people off easily. Mu Xintian's eyes darkened. Speaking of this little prince, I wonder if he's my son. I'm going to test his blood when I return later. Qin Fei's body went limp and she lay on the ground. Her eyes were filled with despair as she bit her lips. But it's also a fact that Qi Su had an affair with the second prince of Tianqi country. How can you protect them, Your Majesty? Affair? An evil and cold voice came from the side. Qin Fei's lips trembled as she turned to look at the woman beside her. Yun Luofeng's lips curled. Who told you that the Spirit Gathering Hall belongs to the second prince of Tianqi country? Qin Fei was stunned. What did that mean? Didn't Qi Su sell the formula of the Spirit Gathering solution to the second prince? Otherwise, she wouldn't have let the Spirit Gathering Hall go. That's just a rumor. How can you take it seriously? Did you hear Qi Su admit it? Yun Luofeng glanced at Qin Fei expressionlessly. Qin Fei finally came back to her senses and wanted to pounce on Qi Su. Qi Su, you liar. How dare you lie to your aunt? I'm going to kill you. Qi Su took 2 steps back and frowned. He sneered. If I didn't say that, you wouldn't have taken advantage of His Majesty's illness and taken away my elixir gathering hall. I remember General Li saying that my spirit gathering hall belonged to the Qi family. You wanted to take it by force. The Spirit Gathering Hall belonged to the Qi family. You're the one who stole it. Qin Fei still didn't know how to repent. Mu Xintian gave the 2 people beside him a look. They immediately stepped forward and held Qin Fei down so that she couldn't move. What is the Qi family? Qi Su raised his head and looked at Mu Xintian. Your Majesty, I have one more thing to ask of your Majesty. Facing Chisu, Mu Jintian looked much more relaxed. He quite liked this kid, and it wasn't just because of Mu Shuixin. Rather, this kid's talent was not bad, and his character was excellent. Only such a youth was worthy to be the son-in-law of the imperial family. Feel free to speak your mind. Your Majesty, Qi Zheng brought Jian Feifei back from outside previously. That's fine, but just now I learned something. Qi Su looked at Qi Zheng coldly, and the killing intent in his eyes intensified. Qi Zheng is inhumane. He killed my brother and even asked Jian Feifei's son, Qi Mo, to pretend to be the eldest son of the Qi family. What? Everyone turned pale with fright and looked at Qi Zheng in disbelief. Even a vicious tiger would not eat its cubs. How could he do such a thing that went against his conscience? Qi Zheng's mouth was dry as he quibbled. What nonsense are you talking about? So many years had passed since then, so how could he have known? Do you want to know how I know? Qi Su sneered. Ever since I found out that Qi Mo wasn't my brother, I asked my uncle. When my mother was about to give birth, my aunt was also outside the door. She even heard the child crying. Yet, you said that my mother was pregnant with a stillborn child? For this reason, I made a special investigation. Fortunately, the heavens do not disappoint those who persevere. I found out that you once plotted against my elder brother. Chapter 1885. Su-er, is what you said true? A trembling voice came from inside the door. Qi Su was shocked. He looked up and saw a tear-stained face. Mother, why are you out? Su-er, I'm only asking you, is what you said true? Lin Qing clenched her fists tightly, her body trembling. Qi Su nodded with a bitter smile. It's true. Lin Qing knew that her son would never lie to her, so she glared at Qi Zheng angrily. Back then, you killed my son so that Jian Feifei's son could sneak into the Qi family and become the eldest son. In the end, you're saying that it's my fault? Qi Zheng, how can you be so inhumane? You were the one who harmed my innocent child and made me raise your child for your mistress. Yet, you forced me to apologize after bringing my mistress into the Qi family. Lin Qing staggered as she thought about what had happened that day. Tears flowed down her cheeks uncontrollably. 3 months ago, you said that I took away Jian Feifei's son and separated them, so it was all my fault. You forced me to kneel down and apologize to Jian Feifei. However, before that, I didn't know that Qi Mo wasn't my son. What I didn't know was that you killed my son. Everyone was furious because of Qi Zheng's actions. When they heard Lin Qing's sobbing voice, they became even more furious. There was actually such a shameless person in this world. First, she killed someone else's son and let the mistress's son sneak in. Then, she made someone else raise her son for more than 10 years. In the end, she even forced someone else to apologize? She said that she stole someone else's mother-son relationship? Even if she was shameless, there should be a limit. How did such a shameless person live to this day? Qi Zheng's face was already pale, but he still refused to admit it. Qi Su said that I killed him, so does that mean I killed him? Where's the evidence? Qi Su sneered. Do you have the guts to swear? Swear to the heavenly Tao that if you didn't kill my brother, you'll definitely go to hell after you die and never be reincarnated. Qi Zheng's face turned even paler when he heard that. A look of guilt flashed across his eyes. When the crowd saw this, they understood who was lying. So what if I did it? Qi Zheng gritted his teeth and admitted, that kid is a jinx. When he spoke, all the words in the backyard withered, and the midwives said that he was unlucky. Letting the flowers wither is bad luck? Yun Luofeng gave Qi Su a look to stop him from speaking. Then he turned his gaze to Qi Zheng. Do you believe that I also have a way to make flowers wither? What? Qi Su was stunned. Yun Luofeng laughed evilly. There is a type of soil called yellow sky soil. Mix this soil with spirit flowers, grind it into powder, and sprinkle it on the flowers, and the flowers will wither. If you don't believe me, you can ask the doctors here. Even though Qi Zheng had learned some medical skills, unfortunately he was not talented and was only a dabbler. Naturally, he did not know about this. There were also doctors among the people brought by Mu Jintian. After hearing Yun Luofeng's words, they all nodded. That's right. This method can make flowers wither. Qi Zheng, who originally insisted on his own idea, suddenly changed his expression when he heard what the people from the royal family said. This is impossible. How could the things you mentioned be in the Qi family? The flowers of the Qi family withered in an instant. It's definitely not because of those things. Is that so? Qi Su sneered. He had already caught a glimpse of Jian Feifei's pale face. He continued, just in time, I found the midwife from back then. Chapter 1886. Back then, the Qi family wasn't very powerful. In addition, he was confident that he could deceive everyone, so he didn't kill the midwife. Even if someone questioned him, he would be the one who stood on the side of reason. Yes, Qi Su felt that he was right, so he wasn't worried about exposing himself. Besides, he didn't want Lin Qing to be too sad by letting him enter the residence. As for Jian Feifei, he wanted to deal with the midwife. However, the midwife was very cunning and didn't give Jian Feifei a chance. Besides, Jian Feifei wasn't strong enough back then, so the midwife escaped. Qi Su had spent a lot of effort to find her. Greetings, Your Majesty. The midwife walked out under the lead of two people and knelt in front of the emperor. When Jian Feifei saw the midwife, her body swayed a few times and she almost fainted. Tell me, what's going on? Mu Jintian asked with a cold face. The midwife trembled. It's Jian Feifei. She gave me a bottle of medicine and asked me to apply it on those flowers. She also told the master of the Qi family that the child was unlucky. At that time, Jian Feifei could take the opportunity to ask for her son to enter the residence. Your Majesty, Jian Feifei promised me 100 taels of silver back then, but I accidentally told my son. My son knows more and said that Jian Feifei would kill me. So, her voice was trembling. I didn't dare to ask for the 100 taels of silver and ran away. Your Majesty, I really know my mistake. Please let me go on account that I didn't take the money. Mu Zhentian snorted. Do you know that your actions have harmed an innocent person's life? It's only right that you pay with your life. After saying that, he looked at Jian Feifei fiercely. Jian Feifei staggered a few steps back, her entire body trembling. Qi Zheng knew that the midwife was telling the truth when he saw her. Jian Feifei, he shouted angrily. All these years, why had Qi Zheng doted on Jian Feifei so much? Wasn't it because of Jian Feifei's kindness? Back then, he had strangled his eldest son and was worried about how to explain it to Lin Qing. It was Jian Feifei who stood up and claimed that she was willing to sacrifice herself to help Lin Qing. It was because of this that he felt so guilty towards her. She even thought that Lin Qing had robbed her of her mother. Never would he have thought that all of this was part of her plan. Qi Zheng's eyes were filled with grief and indignation. He even thought that everything would be different if his eldest son had not died. The Qi family's glory was his, the spirit-gathering elixir was also his, and Qi Su was still very filial to him. Obviously, Qi Zheng hadn't reflected on his mistakes up until now, and he'd pushed the blame onto Jian Feifei instead. With Qi Zheng's angry shout, Jian Feifei's mental defenses finally collapsed and she fell to the ground with a bang. Her face was pale. In this extreme fear, she couldn't say a word. Enough! Seeing that Qi Zheng was about to teach Jian Feifei a lesson, Qi Su shouted coldly, You don't have the right to punish her. This woman has caused my mother to suffer so much and even caused the death of my brother. I'll deal with her myself. As for you, Qi Su smiled coldly. Do you think death is a release? No. He would make him suffer for the rest of his life. Yun Luofeng's body was still leaning lazily against the tree. When he turned around and saw the hostility in Qi Su's eyes, he couldn't help but curl his lips. For a person, death was the easiest choice. Chapter 1887. There was a way to live a life worse than death. Yun Luofeng didn't ask about this because she knew that Qi Su would take care of it himself. Qi Su's words frightened Qi Zheng. His voice trembled as he said, Su-er, I'm your father. Father? Qi Su smiled mockingly. My father died a long time ago when he killed my big brother. Qi Su's face paled and he stumbled to the ground. His face was ashen and his eyes were filled with pain. He regretted it. He regretted listening to slander and killing that newborn child. He regretted even more treating Chi Su this way after Yun Yueqing disappeared. Unfortunately, everything had already happened. There was no point in regretting it. Chi Su. Just as the atmosphere became extremely heavy, a lazy voice suddenly rang out, causing everyone's gaze to fall upon the peerlessly beautiful face. Mu Jintian hadn't paid much attention to Yun Luofeng at first. He only knew that this woman was his benefactor. However, at this moment, when he saw the woman's devilishly beautiful face, a look of shock flashed across his eyes. Similar. Too similar. He and Yun Yueqing looked exactly the same. It would be hard to believe that they weren't related. Moreover, this woman had appeared by Chi Su's side and taken Qi Ling as her disciple. If it wasn't for Yun Yueqing, how could she have met the Qi siblings so coincidentally? And she had even helped him without any hesitation? Master. Chi Su didn't hide Yun Luofeng's identity anymore. Concubine Qin had already passed away, and the Qi family was nothing to be afraid of. He didn't need to worry anymore. Qi Zhang, who had been lying on the ground, suddenly widened his eyes when he heard this. He stared at Yun Luofeng. Who are you? Even though this woman looked like Yun Yueqing, they didn't connect the two of them. This was because one of the two women was extremely beautiful and powerful, while the other was trying to curry favor with Chi Su. Yes, in everyone's eyes, Yun Luofeng was only using her similar appearance to Yun Yueqing to get close to Chi Su. She wanted to obtain wealth through Chi Su. After all, even though Chi Su had been expelled from the Qi family, who could guarantee that he wouldn't return one day? However, Chi Su actually addressed this woman as his master. Mu Jintian and his daughter looked calm, but they were shocked at the same time. Fortunately, they had vaguely guessed Yun Luofeng's identity, so they were not as shocked as the others. Whatever relationship you think we have, that's our relationship. Under everyone's shocked gazes, Yun Luofeng slowly opened his mouth. The corners of his lips curled up slightly, and his voice was as calm as the wind. She did not admit it, nor did she deny it. Even if she thought that Yun Yueqing and Bai Ling were the same person, Chi Su seemed to have thought of something and his eyes were startled. Master, are you and my master really related? Would you believe me if I said I don't know? Yun Luofeng raised an eyebrow and turned to Chi Su. In addition, no matter in front of others or behind them, you don't need to call me master. Ling is my disciple, so you can just call me by my name. Otherwise, if Bai Ling was Yun Yueqing, their relationship was in a mess. She didn't know? Chi Su was a little confused. If it was, then it was. If it wasn't, then it wasn't. How could he not know? I'm sleepy. Hurry up and take care of things here. Don't let them disturb my rest. Yun Luofeng clearly didn't want to say anything else. She stretched lazily and walked around the crowd toward the Qi family. Chapter 1888. Jian Feifei's eyes flashed with viciousness. It was all this woman's fault. If she hadn't appeared, she would have been the mistress of the Qi family. Chi Su and his mother would have been trampled under her feet. Therefore, her hatred for Yun Luofeng made her lose control. She got up and took out a sword to slash at the back of Yun Luofeng's head. Yun Luofeng seemed to have eyes on the back of her head. The moment the sword fell, she quickly turned around, and with a cool flying kick, she swept Jian Feifei away. With a bang, she fell in the middle of the road. You think you can sneak an attack on me? Yun Luofeng smiled and crossed her arms. She looked down at Jian Feifei, who had fallen to the ground. Blood kept flowing out of Jian Feifei's mouth as she glared at Yun Luofeng hatefully. You ruined my plans. I won't let you off even if I become a ghost. Do you think you have the right to become a ghost after offending me? The woman raised her eyebrows and smiled. However, her arrogant tone made Jian Feifei's face turn green. Chi Su had already arrived in front of Jian Feifei with his guards. His handsome face was cold. You overestimate yourself. Men, capture her and execute her with 1,000 cuts. Execute her. These words made Jian Feifei tremble. Her eyes were filled with fear. She knew that Chi Su wouldn't let her off, but she didn't expect him to execute her. No, I didn't do anything. You can't do this to me. Jian Feifei panicked. She wanted to get up and escape, but before she could stand up, Qi Su stepped on her firmly. You didn't do anything? Although Qi Zheng killed my brother, you're the culprit. Moreover, he would never forget how these people had arrogantly forced his innocent mother to apologize when he had stepped into the Qi family again. He felt a heart-wrenching pain when he thought of that scene. Therefore, whether it was Qi Zheng, Qi Mo, or Jian Feifei, he wouldn't let them die so easily. Qi Mo was so scared that he didn't dare to say a word. He turned around and wanted to escape. Qi Su glanced over and a sharp palm strike landed on Qi Mo's body. Qi Mo's body flew out and hit the wall with a bang. At that moment, the wall collapsed and turned into a pile of rubble, covering his body. Take him down as well. I will think of the best and most painful way to deal with it. Qi Su's smile was very cold. There was an indescribable sense of satisfaction in his heart. Qi Su, you'll be the master of the Qi family in the future. I congratulate you in advance. Mu Xintian smiled. However, I must remind you that the Yun girl and Yun Yueqing must have some sort of relationship. Trust my intuition. Yes, he had an intuition. There was definitely some sort of relationship between Yun Luofeng and Yun Yueqing. Qi Su's gaze was a little dazed. He looked in the direction that Yun Luofeng had left and fell into deep thought. Night fell. The night was like water. Qin Fei curled up in a corner, her body trembling. Creak. The door was pushed open, and then a bright figure appeared in front of her. She raised her head and looked at the handsome, middle-aged man in front of her. Tears of grievance flowed down her face. Your Majesty, this concubine was really wronged. It was the fourth princess who framed me. Mu Xintian's lips curled into a cruel smile. I know you're wronged, but the person who framed you isn't Mu Er. Chapter 1889. What? Qin Fei looked at Mu Xintian in shock. His Majesty knew that he was wronged? He even knew that the one who wronged him wasn't the fourth princess? Then why did he treat her like this? Your Majesty, why do you say that? Qin Fei's lips trembled and she looked rather embarrassed. Because... Mu Xintian paused. The people who were sent to beat you and rape you were all my secret guards. Boom! Qin Fei's mind exploded at this moment. Her face was filled with astonishment and disbelief. The people sent by His Majesty? How was this possible? Why did His Majesty make himself a cuckold? Qin, this is the price you have to pay for plotting against Mu Er. Mu Xintian's face was very cold. Besides, do you really think that I don't know that your son isn't my flesh and blood? Qin Fei's face became even paler. She bit her lips, and her widened pupils were filled with shock. His Majesty knew? When did you invite him? Mu Xintian's voice softened. But in this voice, Qin Fei could only hear bone-piercing hatred. I didn't punish you before because you think that I really love you? Wrong. I just want to know who the man who made me a cuckold is. Fortunately, I have already found out that your son is the son of the third prince of Tianqi Kingdom. Mu Xintian smiled coldly. I let you go for now to lure the snake out of its hole. Yesterday, I have already caught the secret guard who came to deliver the letter. Qin Fei shook her head. She couldn't figure out when Mu Xintian found out about all this. Since you already know everything, there is no need to keep you alive. Mu Xintian raised his head and looked down at the woman who had collapsed on the ground. So, I deliberately caused you to miscarry in the Qi family. Qin Fei lowered her eyes. Her heart was already filled with despair. She was His Majesty's woman. Why did he have to be so cruel? He didn't hesitate to let the world know that he had been made a cuckold? You must want to know why I didn't hesitate to let the world know that you betrayed me to punish you. Mu Xintian sneered. Not only do I want you to die, I also want you to lose your reputation and be despised by the world. This is the result of bullying Mu Er. Qin Fei suddenly raised her head and trembled as she looked at Mu Xintian. For the sake of Mu Xuexin, he didn't hesitate to discredit himself? Was his daughter really that important to him? Mu Er is the daughter of the Empress. Seeing her is equivalent to seeing the Empress. If it wasn't for the fact that the Emperor can't only favor one person, there wouldn't be people like you. It's fine if you know your place, but you still can't recognize your place and make life difficult for Mu again and again. Mu Jintian put his hands behind his back. The moonlight poured through the door and fell on his back. Therefore, for the sake of Mu what harm is there in letting the world know that you betrayed me? After saying this, Mu Jintian turned his head and looked outside the door. Under the night sky, the little prince's face was pale and filled with panic. You're lying to me. How could I not be my father's son? I'm the prince of drifting wind country, the next monarch. They must be lying to him. That must be it. Qin Fei was a little flustered. She quickly got up from the ground and rushed out to hug the little prince. Mu Jintian did not stop her. He looked expressionlessly at the mother and son who were hugging each other. Your Majesty? Qin Fei pulled the little prince around and knelt in front of Mu Jintian. My son is innocent. Please forgive him, Your Majesty. He's just a child and doesn't know anything. Chapter 1890. You don't know anything? Mu Jintian narrowed his eyes slightly. He slowly stretched out his hand, and a scroll fell into his hand. The scroll depicted a young girl, but she was wounded by thousands of swords and was kneeling on the ground, begging for mercy. In front of the girl, there was a child with his hands on his waist, arrogantly accepting the girl's kowtow. Obviously, the girl was Mu Shuixin, and the child was the little prince. How could a child have such a vicious heart and say that he didn't know anything? Imperial concubine Qin also saw the content of the painting, and her expression became more and more panicked. Your Majesty, someone must have framed her. My son is innocent and kind. How could he want to kill the fourth princess? However, the little prince did not cooperate with Imperial concubine Qin at all. He shook off Imperial concubine Qin's hand and fiercely glared at the girl in the painting. I am father's son, and she is his daughter. What right does she have to seize father's love? Only I deserve to be loved, and she can only be trampled under my feet. Imperial concubine Qin turned pale with fright and wanted to reach out to cover the little prince's mouth, but it was too late. The little prince had already said these words. Mu Jintian narrowed his eyes slightly, and a trace of anger flashed across his eyes. Who taught you to say these words? He seemed to have asked this inadvertently. This time, the little prince cooperated and told him, My mother told me. She said that only a son can be the heir, and that a daughter will marry sooner or later. Once she is married, she will be like water that has been poured out. She will no longer be a member of the royal family. Good, very good. Mu Jintian was so angry that he laughed. You really raised a good son. Fortunately, you didn't give birth to a child for me. Otherwise, my child would have been destroyed by you. You say he is innocent? Isn't my Mu'er innocent too? You had a son with a wild man, and I have raised him for so many years. How dare you try to kill my own daughter? How can I let you and your son go? Moreover, don't think that I don't know that the third prince of Tianqi Kingdom wants to take over my country. So, not only did he make me a cuckold, but he also helped you make your son the monarch of Drifting Wind Country. When Drifting Wind Country becomes your son, he will immediately change the country's surname. The more Mu Jintian spoke, the angrier he became. He said coldly, However, I will not punish you for the time being. I will decide your guilt after the morning assembly tomorrow. It wasn't that he didn't want to deal with it, but he needed to discuss it with the ministers. However, Qin Fei's ending would definitely be miserable. Thinking about what would happen to her in the future, Qin Fei's legs gave way and she fell to the ground, her eyes filled with pain. Mu Jintian didn't take another look at this woman. He swung his sleeves and left, leaving Qin Fei who was crying bitterly in the night. Son, mother has let you down. Lady Qin's expression was filled with bitterness. If mother hadn't trusted others, your father wouldn't have become someone else. That person had even said that he would help her become the most respected woman in Drifting Wind Country. Now that she was suffering here, that person would not come to save them. Nonsense, don't try to lie to me. I'm father's son, not that wild man's. The little prince angrily jumped up and slapped Qin Fei. Go find Father Emperor. Go tell him that I am his son. Son? Qin Fei raised her head in disbelief. She couldn't believe that this ruthless child in front of her was her son. In fact, she should have known that the little prince would not recognize his own family. After all, the little prince had been looking forward to Mu Xintian's death so that he could inherit the throne. Chapter 1891. But at that time, concubine Qin knew that the little prince was not Mu Xintian's son. So she did not think that her son was not a relative. Get lost. I don't recognize you as my mother. I don't have a mother like you who finds a wild man. You find a wild man, but I'm not a bastard. I'm not. The little prince's face was filled with madness as he slapped concubine Qin. Even though concubine Qin had committed heinous crimes, she loved her son from the bottom of her heart. But she never thought that she would spoil her son to this extent. Caressing her face that was slapped, concubine Qin's heart was already focused on studying abroad. This was the first time she regretted not teaching the little prince well and instilling so many evil thoughts in him. Now, she was asking for trouble. The next day, there were endless arguments in the imperial court. The actions of Qi Zhang and his son aroused public criticism. They were at the heart of the storm and were reviled and looked down upon by everyone. Not only did concubine Qin make Mu Xintian a cuckold, but she was also pregnant with a bastard. Therefore, the officials in the imperial court announced that she should be executed. Of course, it was too easy to execute her. In the end, an imperial physician from the imperial physician hall took out a poison that would make her suffer for 7 days and 7 nights until she died. Although the little prince did not make any substantial mistakes, he was not of the royal bloodline after all. Adding on to the fact that he was so vicious at such a young age, he could not be forgiven. As for concubine Qin's henchmen, none of them were spared. The imperial physician who helped concubine Qin to poison the little prince died as an apology after he found out. Mu Zhentian had always admired Qi Su. Moreover, he was already engaged to Mu Shuixin, so he ordered the two of them to get engaged. This imperial edict naturally caused some people to be happy while others were worried. The ones who were happy were the Qi siblings and Mu Shuixin. The ones who were worried were the young ladies of the drifting wind country who were in love with Qi Su. However, when they thought about the fact that the Qi family had a mistress, they still had the position of concubine and concubine. All of a sudden, the Qi family was filled with people. These people only wanted to enter the Qi family, but they never thought that their actions would offend someone. Yun Luofeng. At that moment, in the room, Yun Luofeng was resting with her eyes closed. When she heard the noise coming from outside the courtyard, her expression darkened. Qi Ling saw her master's expression change and bravely said, "Master, I'll drive them away." After settling the matter with the Qi family, Qi Su had to leave the Qi family. He had been gone for a few days, but those women still came to the Qi family to wait for him. The guards of the Qi family didn't dare to stop these noble ladies, so they formed groups and treated the Qi family's residence as a bustling market. Previously, Yun Luofeng had entered the divine grimoire space as soon as it was daytime, so he didn't feel anything. It was rare that he didn't go to the divine grimoire space today, so he discovered these things about the Qi family. "Qi Ling, do you want Mu Shuixin to be your sister-in-law?" Yun Luofeng curled his lips and asked. She hadn't met Mu Shuixin many times, but she had a good impression of her. As a princess, Mu Shuixin was neither arrogant nor rash. Regardless of whether she was rich or poor, she had chosen Qi Su. She was worthy of Qi Su's love. "I like Master the most, but..." Qi Ling tilted her head. "Master can't be Ling Er's sister-in-law. So Ling Er wants big sister Mu to be my sister-in-law." Although Qi Su was Qi Ling's brother, Qi Ling had always felt that her master was so powerful that her brother was not worthy of her. Since that's the case, let's go out and get rid of any future troubles. Chapter 1892. Yun Luofeng narrowed her eyes and a cold light flashed across them. She rose from her bed and walked out the door. In the back garden, a group of brightly dressed women were sitting among a cluster of flowers, as if they were competing with the flowers for beauty. The women noticed Yun Luofeng walking towards them from the back garden, and their expressions froze. However, they quickly ignored her and continued chatting with their companions. Not everyone knows about what had happened at the Qi family home that day. Hence, these women were not aware of Yun Luofeng's identity. Who let them in? Yun Luofeng's eyes gradually turned cold as she asked icily. A guard next to her broke into a cold sweat. Miss Yun, these people have come uninvited. I tried to stop them, but they would not stop at all. Besides, the master is not in the Qi family home and the lady does not leave the house. We had no choice. Now that I'm here, chase them out of the Qi family home immediately. Break the legs of anyone who dares to take another step in. Yun Luofeng's voice was domineering. Her cold eyes swept towards the women who were sitting in a circle. Her demonic yet peerlessly beautiful face was filled with a chill. She had finally had 2 days of peace and quiet with great difficulty. She did not want these people to keep disturbing her. Yes, Miss Yun. The guard heaved a sigh of relief at Yun Luofeng's words. The women before them may not know Yun Luofeng's identity, but as Qi Su's guards, how could they not know? Even their own master was Yun Luofeng's subordinate. As guards, they naturally had to listen to her orders. Oh! A disdainful voice slowly rang out. A beautiful woman stepped out from the crowd. To put it nicely, you're a guest of the Qi family. To put it bluntly, Master Qi Su had kept you because of his kindness. Do you really think that you're the mistress of the Qi family? Since when did you have the right to speak in the Qi family? Even though this woman was beautiful, her brows were filled with arrogance. She looked at Yun Luofeng with disdain. Unsurprisingly, when she saw Yun Luofeng's face, she could not conceal the jealousy in her eyes. Humph! She was just a little good-looking. On the mainland, strength spoke for itself. No matter how peerless she was still just a vase. Su Shui, don't say any more. A gentle woman stood up and smiled at Yun Luofeng. Miss, don't mind her. Su Shui's personality is straightforward, but she doesn't have any bad intentions. After saying this, he pretended to reprimand her. Su Shui, although what you said is the truth, you can't say it out loud. After all, this is the Qi family, and the 4th princess is the one in charge. Why do you have to get yourself into trouble? What she meant was that what Su Shui said was the truth. Yun Luofeng had taken over something that didn't belong to her. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes slightly and sized up the woman in front of him. A cold light flashed across his eyes. So you know that this is the Qi family. If someone who doesn't know anything sees this, they will think that this is your territory. The corners of her lips curled up into a smile, causing the expressions of the few women present to freeze. You! The woman called Su Shui was just about to shout angrily when Yun Luofeng's cold and evil voice rang out. What are you all standing around for? Chase them out. If they don't want to leave, make them leave lying down. At this point, she paused again. Also, remember to clean and disinfect the places that they have stepped on with alcohol. Su Shui's face turned from green to white, then from white to green. Her eyes were filled with anger. Chapter 1893. The faces of the other women also darkened as they glared at Yun Luofeng angrily. What do you mean? I am the daughter of an official. If His Majesty finds out about this, he will not let you off. Su Shui rebuked. As she spoke, she wanted to step forward and teach Yun Luofeng a lesson. However, before she could reach him, she was stopped by the Qi family's guards and carried out of the door like a little chick. Let go! Let go of me! You are the guards of the Qi family, why do you listen to this woman? I know she must have seduced Qi Su. If the princess finds out about this, she will not let her off. At this moment, Su Shui seemed to have forgotten that they had come to the Qi family for Qi Su. As the women watched Su Shui being dragged out by the Qi family guards, they could not help but feel bewildered. Why were the Qi family guards so obedient to her? Could it be that Qi Su had really taken a fancy to this woman? No, absolutely not. If it was Her Royal Highness, they might have a chance to become concubines of the Qi family. If the Qi family had such an overbearing, unreasonable, and vicious woman, they would never be able to enter the Qi family. Su Shui was still cursing Yun Luofeng when a voice rang out from behind her. Her angry expression suddenly turned into surprise. What happened? Not far away, Qi Su stood at the door with a slight frown. He had only left for a few days. Why did so many people come to the Qi family? Young master. The guard pulled Su Shue's body to the ground with a thud. She looked battered and exhausted. These people came to the Qi family saying that they want to see you. They have been here for a few days. Qi Su had not come alone. He had Mu Shuoxin with him. Therefore, when they saw Mu Shuoxin by Qi Su's side, the other women did not dare to move. However, Su Shue's way of thinking was different. She felt that sooner or later, she would become Qi Su's woman. No matter what she did, it was only right. So, she climbed up from the ground in a sorry state and quickly rushed towards Qi Su. Qi Su jumped in fright. Without even thinking, he raised his leg and kicked Su Shui in the chest. Su Shue's body flew out and landed heavily in the flower bed. Su Shui was stunned. Her tears fell like rain. Young Master Qi Su, I came to see you, but this woman is too despicable. She claimed to be the mistress of the Qi family and even wanted to chase us out. As she wept and complained, she did not forget to accuse Yun Luofeng. Mu Shuoxin looked at Su Shui as if she was looking at an idiot. Her beautiful face had an arc of disdain as she coldly glanced at the battered Su Shui. The other women thought that they would see Mu Shuoxin's cold expression, but they didn't expect that Mu Shuoxin's expression didn't change, as if she didn't hear Su Shui's words. How could this be? Isn't Mu Shuoxin deeply in love with Qi Su? Why was he so indifferent when he heard that someone was trying to take over his place? The gentle-looking lady in red bit her lips and slowly walked towards Mu Shuoxin and Mu Shuoxin. Your Highness, we only came to visit young Master Qi Su and have no other intentions. However, we didn't expect that we would actually discover that young Master Qi Su has another woman and even threatened to chase us out. She had been in love with Qi Su for many years. Unfortunately, Qi Su was chased out of the Qi family. No matter how much she liked him, she felt that it was impossible for her to marry someone with no power. Fortunately, Qi Su came back and took over the Qi family in one fell swoop. With such an identity, it wouldn't be too much to be his concubine. However, she was smart enough not to reveal her feelings and only stated that she was here to visit Qi Su. Chapter 1894. She already said that she wants to chase you out. Why are you still shamelessly staying here? Mu Shuoxin sneered. Are you trying to spy on Qi Su? The woman in red was stunned. What did the princess mean? Mu Shuoxin did not dare to let the woman in red feel conflicted. She continued to speak coldly. Lu Yu, don't think that I don't know what you're thinking. I've turned a blind eye to your father's many contributions to drifting wind country. Don't be so shameless. Even if Lu Yu pretended to be gentle, it was only in the eyes of men. As a woman, Mu Shuoxin only wanted to give her one word: green tea bitch. Lu Yu's face turned pale and she lowered her eyelids. Those who did not know the truth would think that Mu Shuoxin was bullying her with her power. Fourth princess. Su Shui was obviously the type of person who did not use her brain and was not afraid of death. Moreover, she was like a cockroach that could not die. Even after suffering such a heavy blow, she could still continue to climb up. She said, the few of us do not covet the position of mistress of the Qi family. We only want to be Master Qi Su's concubines. Isn't it normal for a man to have 3 or 4 wives? As a princess, you cannot stop a man from taking a concubine. Concubine? A bone-chilling cold voice suddenly rang out from behind the crowd. Yun Luofeng, who had not spoken since the beginning, crossed her arms in front of her chest. A devilish smile appeared on her lips as she looked at Qi Su with a half-smile. You want to take a concubine? Qi Su was terrified when he heard this. No, I will never take a concubine, especially these shameless women. I wouldn't want them even if they were given to me. These women had come to the Qi family without any reservations and even said that they wanted to be his concubines. Were they not shameless? Indeed, when they heard Qi Su's words, the women's faces turned pale and they became even more furious. However, they did not dare to vent their anger on Qi Su and Mu Shuoxin. They could only glare at Yun Luofeng with hatred. Lu Yu's mind raced. What did she mean? Not allowing Qi Su to take a concubine? What about her? She wants to be the mistress of the Qi family? Yun Luofeng held Qi Ling's little hand as if she did not notice the other's anger. Her lips curled into a small smile. Then remember what you said today. If a person is too half-hearted, then I don't think he will continue to work for me. How much energy would a person with a backyard that was prone to fire have to work for him? Therefore, no one was allowed to take a concubine. This was the most basic requirement. Chi Su hurriedly swore to the heavens, "Miss Yun, don't worry. I will never take a concubine. In this life, I will never let my wife down." Yun Luofeng smiled and did not say anything else. Since Chi Su was back, he would let her deal with these women. "I'm going to meditate. If anyone comes to disturb me again, I'll make them leave lying down." Su Shui was furious. "Who do you think you are? What right do you have to control young Master Qi? Do you think you're the mistress of the Qi family? You..." Bang! Before Su Shui could finish her sentence, she was kicked away. Chi Su clenched his fists and the veins on his forehead bulged. He shouted angrily, "Men! Tie Su Shui up and let the Su family come and ransom her." Su Shui panicked. Chi Su didn't have any protective feelings for the fairer sex? Did he have the heart to do that? Mu Shuixin looked at Su Shui coldly and said, "It's not your fault for being stupid. It's your fault for being used by others. Also, before you find trouble with Miss Yun, please find out what happened in the Qi family a few days ago." Chapter 1895. Being used? Su Shui's eyes suddenly widened as she turned to look at Lu Yu in astonishment. One had to know that she was so angry at Yun Luofeng just now because of the things that Lu Yu had instilled in her. According to Lu Yu, Yun Luofeng was the kind of woman who shamelessly pestered Chi Su. That was why Su Shui was so angry. At this moment, Lu Yu's face was pale. She bit her lips and looked pitiful. "Are you going to scram? Or should I throw you out?" Chi Su gently narrowed his eyes and said coldly. Those women didn't dare to stay any longer and hurriedly left. Except for Su Shui, who was detained. This time, they listened to Mu Shuixin's words and went to inquire about what happened in the Qi family a few days ago. That day, there were many onlookers, so some things weren't difficult to find out. When they found out that Yun Luofeng could actually fight against a heavenly god and even defeat that heavenly god, they instantly panicked. Later on, they even heard that Chi Su was working for Yun Luofeng, and only then did they realize how foolish their actions were. The Su family's patriarch personally came and paid a huge price to bring Su Shui back. After returning, the Su family's patriarch gave his daughter a ruthless beating and immediately told her everything that happened in the Qi family a few days ago. Su Shui was scared silly. Then, she realized that she had really been used by Lu Yu. Thinking of this, she was very angry. The Su family's patriarch was also angry because of this. He used the power in his hands to target Lu Yu's father, causing Lord Lu to be suppressed in the imperial court. After that, every time Su Shui and Lu Yu met, these two women would have a huge battle, wishing that they could tear each other apart. Of course, Yun Luofeng didn't know about these things. This was because Chi Su told her that someone had seen Ji Jiutian in the state of Tianqi. The reason why Chi Su left for a few days was to confirm this news, state of Tianqi. Speaking of the state of Tianqi, the only person Yun Luofeng knew was the second prince of the state of Tianqi. She narrowed her eyes slightly and tapped her finger on the table. She continued to ask, "Did you find the whereabouts of that ghost Emperor Yun Shao? He seems to be in the state of Tianqi, but I'm not too sure." Chi Su frowned and replied, "Chi Su, come with me to the kingdom of Tianqi. Leave the matters here to Elder Zhao." Yun Luofeng slowly stood up. "Regardless of whether this information is correct or not, I will not give up hope. Furthermore, if we want to go to Nemesis Forest, we must pass through the kingdom of Tianqi." Tian Fa Forest. Chi Su seemed to have thought of something and asked, "Miss Yun, do you really not know if you are related to my master?" "I'm not too sure." Yun Luofeng shook his head. "I only know that my mother, Bai Ling, and my father, Yun Yang, both died on the battlefield. I've seen the jade bangle that Xiao Ling took out before. That jade bangle was a token of love that my father had given to my mother. However, if my mother is still alive, whose corpse in the Yun family's ancestral grave belongs to?" Yun Luofeng could not understand. He shook his head and sighed. Chi Su's face was full of excitement. My master also came to this continent from the battlefield. She has forgotten the past and doesn't remember who she is. However, there seems to be a person named Ling in her memory. However, she isn't sure who this person named Ling is. As for my younger sister's name, it was also given by my master. Miss Yun. Chi Su took a deep breath and continued to ask. You said that you don't know who the person in the Yun family grave is. Then I would like to ask you, have you seen your mother's corpse? Chapter 1896. Yun Luofeng was stunned. She shook her head and said, I've never seen it. However, if there was no corpse in the grave, my grandfather would have definitely told me. After all, if there was no corpse, it means that my mother is definitely alive. However, he didn't mention this, so I assumed that my mother's corpse existed. Miss Yun, you can only be sure if she is your mother after you find my master. Chi Su had a premonition that Yun Luofeng was definitely related to Yun Yueqing. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been so close to her when he first met her. When he thought of this, a smile appeared on his face. He really hoped that Yun Luofeng was his master's daughter. That way, his master wouldn't be alone. There's no point in saying more. We'll confirm this in the future. Yun Luofeng slowly stood up. Go pack up and head to the nation of Tianqi. What she wanted to confirm now was that Yun Xiao and Ji Zhoutian were no longer in the nation of Tianqi. I'll go prepare now. Chi Su turned around and prepared to leave. Qi Ling wanted to go to the nation of Tianqi too. But who knew how many dangers there would be along the way? Bringing her along would be somewhat unchanged. So Chi Su could only reject her under Qi Ling's tearful gaze. Compared to following them, Qi Ling would be safer in the nation of Tianqi. Moreover, Mu Shuoxin was there to take care of her. Qi Ling knew that her brother would never agree to let her follow them. She could only send them off with teary eyes. She didn't know when they would meet again. The nation of Tianqi. The bustling streets were bustling with noise. Yun Luofeng had actually seen the existence of a puppet among those people. This had indeed surprised her. She didn't expect the puppet to enter the nation of Tianqi so quickly. Chi Su was like a loyal guard as he followed Yun Luofeng. His eyes were also sizing up the bustling nation of Tianqi. A trace of absent-mindedness appeared in his eyes. Actually, the first time I met Master was in the nation of Tianqi. Back then, I went out to train and encountered danger. Master happened to save me, so I survived. If it wasn't for Yun Yueqing, perhaps, he wouldn't be in this world anymore. The past was like smoke, causing Chi Su's eyes to be filled with nostalgia. It was as if he could see that beautiful woman through the bustling crowd. Suddenly, his gaze converged, and it descended onto a figure in front of him. What's wrong? Yun Luofeng sensed the abnormality of the youth beside him and asked with a slight frown. The young man was startled. He curled his lips and said, I met an acquaintance. After saying this, he slowly walked towards the girl who was surrounded by people. The young girl was not very beautiful. It could be said that her appearance was very ordinary. Her eyes were filled with panic as she looked helplessly at the group of people in front of her. Jianan, I will become the second prince's wife sooner or later. How dare you not kneel before me when you see me? Second Princess Consort? Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. He suddenly thought of second brother Qi, whom he had met in Storm Town, and his lips curled into a smile. She remembered that Chi Su had once told her that the second prince had a concubine, but that concubine had passed away due to a serious illness. However, there was no news of him marrying another concubine. Yun Luofeng, who was initially unconcerned, heard the next words of the girl who was surrounded, and his face suddenly darkened. Second sister, since you are already the second prince's wife, why are you still angry because father wants to betroth me to young Master Ji? Aren't you thinking about what's in the bowl while eating from the pot? Do you really think that all the men in the world like you? Jianan lifted her chin. Moreover, it was father's order for me to marry Ji Zhoutian. What's the point of you stopping me? Chapter 1897. Ji Zhoutian? Yun Luofeng's eyes flashed with joy. Was Ji Zhoutian really in the state of Tianqi? However, Yun Luofeng curled his lips when he thought of the girl's words. With Ji Juqian's personality, he would not be so easily controlled. Would Ji Juqian marry her just because her father wanted her to? You! Jenny's chest heaved up and down as she slapped Jinan's face. I am the second prince's wife. Don't tarnish my reputation. No matter how strong Ji Juqian was, he could not be compared to the royal family of the state of Tianqi. Even if she thought that this man was unparalleled in beauty, she only wanted to marry the second prince. Now, Jenny could not stand to see a concubine's daughter tarnishing Ji Juqian's beauty. Jinan snorted. She said those words on purpose to anger Jenny. Ji Juqian was not her type. What she liked were youths that were as elegant as jade. Just as Jenny was about to slap him again, an arm suddenly grabbed her hand. The young man stood against the wind, looking incomparably handsome. His face was still young and inexperienced, and there was a cold glint in his dark eyes. It's you. Jinan's voice was filled with surprise as she looked at the young man beside her without blinking. If Yun Luofeng was not wrong, there was a flash of adoration in Jinan's eyes. It turned out that she liked people like Qi Su. Unfortunately, Qi Su already had Mu Shuixin. Get lost. Qi Su shouted coldly and pushed Jenny forcefully. His eyes were as cold as frost. Jenny's little face turned pale as she took a few steps back. She glared at Jinan. Jinan, other than pretending to be wrong to hook up with men, what else can you do? Jinan did not say anything in response to her mockery. She hid the adoration in her eyes well and only smiled happily. Get lost. Or do you want me to chase you away? Qi Su's arm tightened around Jenny as he said coldly. Jenny felt Qi Su's aura and gritted her teeth. Humph. I will let this little bitch go this time. Next time I will teach her a lesson. Let's go. After saying that, Janie turned around and left with her followers. She did not look like a loser. Instead, she was as arrogant as a peacock. Miss Yun. After saving Jinan, Qi Su walked to Yun Luofeng's side on his own accord. He smiled and scratched his head. Back when I was traveling with my master, I had met her a few times. This time, when I saw her being bullied, I could not help but help her. Jinan saw that Qi Su did not speak to her, but walked towards the woman in white in front of her. A hint of hurt flashed across her eyes, because Qi Su's back was facing her. She couldn't see her expression clearly, but Yun Luofeng could clearly see the emotions in her eyes. Wait for me. Yun Luofeng patted Qi Su's shoulder and walked towards Jinan. The Ji Juqian you mentioned just now, does he like men who wear red and are very seductive? Oh, that's right. There's a little cinnabar between his eyebrows. Jinan did not answer Yun Luofeng, but turned to look at Qi Su. Qi Su felt a little strange. Yun Luofeng was asking her, so why was she looking at her? Why are you looking at me? Qi Su could not help but ask. Honestly, his heart was already filled with Mu Shuixin. He could not feel the strange feelings of other women at all. Jinan lowered her eyes slightly. The person you're talking about is indeed young Master Ji. However, young Master Ji has been out recently and will only be back after a while. Why don't you come with me to the manor and wait? I'll tell my father that you're young Master Ji's sister. My father will definitely take you in. Chapter 1898. Qi Su's eyes brightened and his expression softened. He turned his head and asked, Miss Yun, are we going to the Jian family? Okay. Yun Luofeng thought for a while and nodded. Jinan was surprised that Qi Su was going to ask Yun Luofeng about such a small matter. Her eyes flickered, but she didn't say anything. After all, she and Qi Su had only met before. What right did she have to ask about his relationship with this woman? Miss Jinan, then I'll have to trouble you. Qi Su touched the back of his head and chuckled. In reality, the reason why he had saved her just now was because Jinan had once helped him with a small matter. He was a grateful person and couldn't remain indifferent to seeing Jinan being bullied. Sir Qi Su, don't call me Miss Jinan. Just call me an Jinan's eyes were full of smiles and her eyes were bright when she looked at Qi Su. Qi Su's expression turned serious and he said seriously, That won't do. There is a difference between men and women. How can I call you so intimately? That's disrespectful to you. From how Qi Su had always called Yun Luofeng Miss Yun, It could be seen that this youth's personality was sometimes more rigid, and he paid more attention to the difference between men and women. He hadn't even changed the way he called Yun Luofeng. How could he be so intimate with Jinan, who he had never met before? Then I'll do as you say. Disappointment flashed in Jinan's eyes. She didn't understand why he had to be so rigid when it was just a form of address. Yun Luofeng's gaze swept over Jinan's face, and he saw the disappointment in her eyes. He curled his lips and said lightly, "Chi Su, I'm tired." Chi Su executed Yun Luofeng's order faster than anything else. He immediately straightened his body, and his gaze fell on Jinan's face. "Miss Jinan, are we going to the Jen family now?" Even though he was asking her this question, Jinan believed that if she delayed any longer, Chi Su would definitely leave with this woman. This knowledge made her very uncomfortable. However, Chi Su's heart was on Yun Luofeng's words, and he didn't notice Jinan's fleeting dissatisfaction. Jinan took a deep breath, and a smile appeared on her face. "Sir Chi Su, Miss Yun, please follow me." Then, she slowly turned and walked towards the street in front. Although Jinan was the daughter of a concubine in the Jian family, the head of the Jian family, Jian Bowen, had arranged for her to be with Ji Jiutian. Therefore, the servants were no longer as mean to her as they used to be. When Jinan ordered the servants to take Chi Su and Yun Luofeng away to rest, the servants immediately carried out her orders. Soon, this matter reached Jian Bowen's ears. Knowing that his daughter had brought a group of outsiders back, he looked very unhappy. Just when he was about to find Jinan, he found that the girl had already walked out of the study. You really don't know how expensive rice and fuel are until you manage the household." Jian Bowen's face turned cold. "Our Jian family doesn't have the extra money to take care of your two friends." The Jian family had a lot of wealth. However, Jian Bowen had always been stingy. How could someone like him spend money on outsiders? Not even a copper coin. "Father," Jinan smiled, "do you really want your daughter to marry Ji Jiutian? Are you sure that with that man's personality, he will listen to the Jian family's arrangements?" Jian Bowen's face darkened. "This time, the Jian family will not deliberately arrange for you. Everything will depend on your own efforts. If you can't make Ji Jiutian fall in love with you, then you are useless. Our Jian family will not want a useless daughter like you." Chapter 1899. Jinan lowered her eyes. "Father, please forgive me. No matter how outstanding I am, Ji Jiutian will not like me." "Why?" "Because..." Jinan's eyes flashed. "Ji Jiutian likes men. She would never marry Ji Jiutian. However, if she told her father directly, he would definitely not agree. Therefore, she could only push the responsibility to Ji Jiutian. Ji Jiutian was not in the Jian family anyway, was he?" Jian Bowen was shocked. He staggered and sat down. His face was ashen. He had never considered this problem. The eldest daughter of the Jian family was so beautiful. Why would Ji Jiutian like her? Even if he did not want to marry her, he would be willing to let her be his woman. However, he was dismissive of his eldest daughter. Apart from Ji Jiutian's sexual orientation, Jian Bowen could not think of any other reason. No man did not like beautiful women, and no man could resist the temptation of such beauty. "Jinan." Jian Bowen clenched his teeth. "How did you know about this?" Jinan lied without blushing. "Actually, I once wanted to be Ji Jiutian's wife. However, Ji Jiutian told me about this himself. I could only give up. Do you know that if you tell them about this, you will lose your status in the Jian family?" Jian Bowen looked at Jinan coldly, his face expressionless. "And you will only end up as a concubine of the aristocratic families in the state of Tianqi. No one will be willing to marry a concubine's daughter." Jinan smiled faintly. "Father, do you know who the people I brought back are?" Jian Bowen was stunned and looked at her in confusion. "The young man called Chi Su is the young master of the Qi family in the Drifting Wind country. Moreover, Chi Su's master Yun Yueqing is very powerful. He is no weaker than Ji Jiutian. Do you think he can do it?" In this life, her heart only belonged to Chi Su. She was willing to take the risk. "You want me to propose marriage?" Jen Bowen did not expect Jinan to know the young master of the top aristocratic family in the drifting wind country. If it was him, he could help the Jen family? No. Jinan shook her head. I have to fight for my feelings myself. Moreover, Chi-Su is not someone who can be easily controlled. If he doesn't have me in his heart, he will never agree to the marriage with the Jen family. Jen Bowen, whose face was originally ashen, burst into laughter when he heard this. All right, if you can marry into the Chi family, then from now on, you will be the legitimate daughter of the Chi family. Jinan looked down again, and a bitter smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Did he mean that if she couldn't marry into the Chi family, she would have no status in the Jen family? Even worse than a servant? However, Jen Bowen's eyes flickered. He continued to say, if you fail, the Jen family will no longer have a daughter like you. As for your mother, there will be no need for her to stay. Whoosh! Jinan's face was pale. She looked up in disbelief at Jen Bowen's cruel face. She couldn't believe that these were her own father's words. Although her mother was born in a humble family and couldn't bring any help to the Jen family, she had loved this man her entire life. Was he going to kill her mother just because she had failed? Jinan bit her lip and her eyes were filled with pain. For the first time, she regretted making such a request to her father. You can leave now, Jen Bowen said coldly with a wave of his hand. Jinan turned and left. Chapter 1900. Her mind was in a daze. She didn't even know how she got into the room. What's wrong? In the room, a woman in a linen shirt saw Jinan walk into the room. She hurriedly put down her needlework and walked quickly to Jinan's side. She looked worried. Did your father say something to you again? Her mother's voice finally brought Jinan back to reality. She looked up at the woman in front of her. Mother, can we leave the Jen family? She went to find Jen Bowen because she wanted him to revoke the order for her to seduce Ji Jutian. After all, she didn't like Ji Jutian and was even more afraid that Ji Jutian would fall for her. At that time, it would be hard to clean up. That was why she brought Chi-Su out. What she didn't expect was that her father would use her mother's life to force her. Her mother was the most important person in the world to her. To be honest, she really didn't know whether Chi-Su would fall in love with her. Otherwise, she wouldn't have said something like leaving the Jen family with her mother. The woman's expression suddenly changed, and her face darkened. What nonsense are you spouting now? I won't leave the Jen family. If your father scolds you, just listen to him. Don't go against him. Jinan smiled bitterly. She knew that her mother wouldn't leave. If she was willing to leave the Jen family, she wouldn't have deliberately set up her father and become pregnant with his child. Otherwise, with her father's character of judging people by their appearance, her ordinary-looking mother wouldn't have married into the Jen family. Don't be angry with your father. If it weren't for him, you wouldn't exist. Your father is right. Just listen to him. Don't say something stupid like leaving the Jen family again. I won't leave. Mother, what if my father wants to kill you? Jinan finally couldn't help but say this. The woman was stunned. Then she smiled and said, Why would your father want to kill me? I gave birth to a daughter for him. He isn't that kind of heartless person. Moreover, the woman paused and then continued, If I didn't do something wrong, would your father want to kill me? You must remember that in this world, men are the rulers. If you get married, you must be obedient and listen to whatever your husband says. Even if he hits you, it must be because you did something wrong. So, you must never fight back. Understand? Jinan smiled bitterly. She had heard these words many times. Basically, her mother would repeat them every few months for fear that she would not listen to her husband after she got married. The woman earnestly advised, You must remember all that mother has told you. If you're stubborn, men won't like you. When the time comes and they divorce you, you'll be scolded and criticized by everyone. Your father can't afford to lose face. In the woman's mind, if a woman was divorced, the problem must be with the woman. Otherwise, why would others divorce you for no reason? Jinan knew her mother's character very well, so she didn't say anything more. She just said, Mother, I understand. I will listen to father. In the wing room, Yun Luofeng sat at the table. Chi Su poured a cup of tea for her and sat in front of her. Chi Su. Yun Luofeng took a sip of tea and put it down. She said lightly, "How credible do you think Jianan's words are?" Jianan said that Ji Jutian would come back after a while. But she knew that Ji Jutian's character would not listen to the Jian family's arrangements. Hearing this, Chi Su touched her head and said, "I'm not too sure. When I first met Jianan, it was a few years ago. I was in a bit of trouble and she helped me. At that time, Jianan was only 12 or 13 years old. It was the age of innocence. But people change. Now I don't know her very well." Chapter 1901. Naive and Ignorant? Yun Luofeng took another sip of tea. How could there be naive and ignorant people in such a prestigious family? Chi Su, Jianan likes you. Chi Su, who had just taken a sip of tea, spat it out when he heard Yun Luofeng's words. Fortunately, Yun Luofeng dodged quickly and did not get spat out. "Well, I didn't mean to." Chi Su wiped the corner of his mouth, his face full of embarrassment. "I was just scared by you. I've only met her a few times. How could she like me?" Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. "I don't care about your feelings, but I have a request for everyone around me. You are not allowed to have concubines. Otherwise, there will be countless troubles and it will affect the efficiency of doing things for me." Moreover, she, who came from China, did not dare to compliment men having multiple wives. Fortunately, she had Yun Xiao. Yun Xiao would never trouble her with these things. If there was anyone who peeked at him, he would take care of it himself. He would not give anyone any chances. I know. Moreover, he had never thought about having concubines. Also, Yun Luofeng slowly stretched, his expression languid. "I'm here to find Ji Jutian. If I find out that she lied to me, or caused me trouble, I will not let her go." Until now, she only saw that Jianan liked Chi Su. She did not find any other emotions. If Jianan wanted to do something, then she would not be polite. "Miss Yun, if you think that Jianan lied to us, then we can leave the Jian family." Chi Su frowned. If Jianan really liked him, then he would be the first to leave the Jian family. "No need. I think it will be easier for us to find Ji Jutian here." Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. A light flashed in his eyes. "Oh yes, Chi Su, tell your people to keep searching. If they find Yun Xiao, then let me know." "Okay." Chi Su nodded. "I've already sent most of the Qi family's people out. I'm sure they will find Yun Xiao soon." Hearing this, Yun Luofeng did not say anything else. His eyes were filled with contemplation. "By the way," Chi Su seemed to remember something and said, "I owe the second prince a favor. I plan to visit him in the next few days." Yun Luofeng's eyes flashed. "Tell me about the second prince's situation." Chi Su was stunned. He raised his head and looked at Yun Luofeng. The second prince and the second princess consort were deeply in love. In the years when the second princess consort was alive, the second prince doted on her alone. He did not even step into the concubine's room. Unfortunately, the second princess consort passed away from illness a few years ago. Yun Luofeng did not speak and continued to listen to Chi Su. The second princess consort had a daughter. Before she passed away, she passed on her last words, hoping that her younger sister would be the second prince's second wife. As a member of the royal family of the kingdom of Tianqi, the emperor would definitely not allow the second prince to not remarry for the rest of his life. In order to prevent her daughter from being bullied, the second princess consort naturally hoped that her own sister could take over this position. It was better than the second prince marrying a stranger. The second prince would definitely follow the second princess consort's will. Who would have thought that not long after, the second princess consort's sister would also fall ill? Sisters falling ill one after another? Yun Luofeng stroked his chin. This was indeed thought-provoking. The emperor naturally did not allow it. Instead, he favored the second miss of the Jian family, Jenny. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. "Tell the second prince that I can save the second princess consort's sister. Furthermore, I can help her ascend the throne." Chapter 1902. Chi Su's eyes were filled with surprise. Based on her understanding of Yun Luofeng, she wasn't a helpful person. Miss Yun, your request is… Chisu thought for a moment before asking. I want him to listen to my orders. Yun Luofeng's appetite had always been huge. He wanted to eat up the entire Tianqi state. However, Chisu still believed that she had the ability to do so. Tell the second prince about this first. As for my request, I will personally bring it up to him. Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a faint smile. Her pitch-black eyes were filled with confidence. Then I will go find the second prince tomorrow. Just as the two were discussing, footsteps came from outside the door. In that instant, the two of them stopped talking. Chisu, when you cause trouble, you solve it yourself. When it comes to women, you need to cut the Gordian knot so that it doesn't cause trouble in the future. Yun Luofeng said lightly. She had already reminded Chisu that if he procrastinated and caused trouble in the future, it would be his own problem. When it came to matters of the heart, he needed to reject decisively. He couldn't give her hope and give her despair. I understand. Chisu sighed helplessly. He didn't think that Jinan would like him, but he trusted Yun Luofeng even more. Yun Luofeng's words would never be wrong. Just as they were talking, the door was pushed open. Jinan immediately saw Chisu at the door and smiled. Young Master Jinan, I have some matters to discuss with you. Is it convenient to go somewhere else to talk? She glanced at Yun Luofeng in the room, clearly not wanting her to know. No need. Just say it. Chisu rejected her immediately. Yun Luofeng wasn't an outsider. What could she not hear? Jinan was stunned, and her expression was a little conflicted. For a woman, there were some things that couldn't be said in front of others. Just as Jinan was frowning, Yun Luofeng's evil voice came from the room. Chisu, go. I have already said what I need to say. You will know what to do. With Yun Luofeng's words, Chisu didn't reject Jinan anymore. He nodded. Lead the way. Jinan's heart was filled with complicated feelings. She really did want to talk to Chisu, but Chisu listening to Yun Luofeng like this really made her unhappy. However, she was very smart and did not show any dissatisfaction. She still had a gentle smile on her face. Master Chisu, this way please. In fact, Jinan really wanted to take Chisu to her room to talk, but she also knew that if she did so, Chisu would definitely be unwilling. This youth paid too much attention to the boundaries between men and women. But wasn't such a man even rarer? Behind the rockery, Jinan stopped in her tracks and turned her head to look at Chisu, who was standing in front of her. After pondering for a while, she asked, Young Master Chisu, what is your relationship with Miss Yun? Perhaps because of Yun Luofeng's previous words, Chisu felt that Jinan's questioning was too deliberate, which made him very uncomfortable. Miss Yun is my friend. I came to the state of Tianqi this time to accompany her to find Ji Jiutian. Friends? Hearing this, Jen and breathed a sigh of relief. I thought, why? Chisu frowned and asked. Jinan gently pursed her lips and did not answer Chisu. Her pair of eyes stared at Chisu. Young Master Chisu, actually, from the first time I saw you a few years ago, I already liked you. In an instant, Chisu's fingers stiffened. Perhaps because Yun Luofeng had warned him before, he did not appear too shocked. Chapter 1903. Seeing his calm expression, Jinan's eyes darkened slightly. Mr. Chi, will you marry me? Sorry, I don't want to. His words were very direct, so direct that Jinan's heart felt like it was being torn apart. The pain was very heart-wrenching. She knew that Chisu would not like a concubine's daughter, but now that she heard the truth, she still felt very sad. I know that Mr. Chisu does not like me because I am only a concubine's daughter. But I only ask you one thing. Can you pretend to marry me? After I leave the Jian family, I will set you free. Jinan's face was a little pale. She looked up at Chisu, her eyes full of hope. The young man in front of her was already her only hope. No one could help her except him. Jinan, I already have a fiancée. She is waiting for me in Drifting Wind Country. You want me to pretend to marry you? If my fiancé finds out, how can I explain it? Chisu's expression had already turned cold. If it were not for the sake of Jinan's help, he would directly throw a sentence at her. How could I possibly hurt my fiancé's heart for a stranger like you? Jianan's expression was a little painful. It turned out that Chi Su already had a fiancé. Your fiancé, is she very powerful? Only someone with a powerful background could match up with Chi Su. A concubine's daughter like her would never be able to marry him. Chi Su frowned. Jianan, what do you mean? Am I someone with that kind of power? Let me tell you, the woman I like, even if she is just a beggar, she is still the one I love. Do you know that more than a year ago, when my master went missing, I was treated harshly by the Chi family. Everyone kept their distance from me, except for her, who stood by my side as always. In this life, I will not let her down. Jianan smiled with a pale face. I'm sorry, I said something wrong. How could the man she liked be such a snob? Otherwise, she would not have missed him for a few years. Young Master Chi Su, I have no choice but to look for you. Can you help me? I believe that your fiancée must be very kind. She will understand you. Jianan wanted to grab Chi Su's sleeve, but he shook her off. Chi Su's face was filled with impatience. My fiancée is indeed very kind, but a kind woman still has very high requirements when it comes to relationships. You said that we are only pretending to be married, but who can tolerate their man getting married to another woman? Even if it's fake? Jianan's face grew paler. She had no other choice, so why wasn't he willing to help her? Even if it's fake? She did not really ask to marry him. If Chi Su did not help her, her mother would die. Young Master Chi Su, a few years ago, you and your master came to the kingdom of Tianqi and met with danger. You were surrounded and attacked, and your master was not by your side. At that time, you asked me to help you find your master and tell her about the danger you were in. Originally, Chi Su was still a little grateful to Jianan. Now that he heard her words, the only trace of gratitude in his heart disappeared. I'm very grateful to you for informing my master on my behalf. My master has also repaid you by giving you a few elixirs. Those elixirs are very valuable. Your mother was seriously injured at that time, and it was because of my master's elixirs that saved her life. Chi Su looked at Jianan. So, I've already repaid the kindness that I've shown you, and I have always been grateful for a drop of water. So when you were bullied by your sister, I helped you to chase her away. Chapter 1904. If you threaten me with kindness, we can only break off all ties. He had his bottom line. If someone helped him once, he would return the favor 10 times, provided that it did not cross his bottom line. Young Master Chi Su. Seeing that Chi Su was about to turn and leave, Jianan knelt on the ground with a thump and her face was full of tears. My father knows that you are the young master of the Chi family, and he forced me to marry you. He said that if I don't marry you, he will kill my mother. She is my only mother and the most important person in my life. How can I not save her? Please help me. As long as we get married, my father will let my mother go. Are you going to leave her to die? She cried her heart out and her eyes were red. The thought of the price her mother would have to pay made her heart wrench. However, Jianan did not think that the reason why Jian Bowen gave such an order was that she had asked for it. She would not have died if she had not asked for it. If she had not gone to Jian Bowen and said those words, why would Jian Bowen threaten her with her mother's life? At the end of the day, it was her own fault. Chi Su's back stiffened, and a complicated look flashed across his eyes. He sighed deeply and said, I can't hurt my fiancé's heart for you. In my heart, she is more important than you. His words were harsh enough. After saying that, he slowly walked down the mountain. Jianan's body collapsed on the ground. Her eyes were filled with despair and pain as she watched Chi Su leave. Her face was pale. Chi Su, can you really be so heartless? You can disregard a person's life just to not let her be sad? I've already begged you. Why won't you help me? If you don't help me, that man will definitely kill my mother. She really did not understand how Chi Su could be so heartless. To him, saving the mother and daughter was as easy as lifting a finger. Moreover, it was just a fake marriage. Even if his fiancée would be sad, he could just explain it to her. Moreover, as a man, how could he not control his fiancée? It had to be said that Jinan was deeply affected by having a mother like that. In their world, men were the sky and they had to look up to them. In her heart, she did not think that Chi Su's fiancé could raise any objections. Moreover, if a fake marriage could make her sad, what about Chi Su's concubines in the future? Mother had said that it was natural for a man to have 3 wives and 4 concubines. Obstructing a man from taking a concubine was disrespecting a man and being unfilial to his in-laws. Such a daughter-in-law was destined to be criticized by the world. Chi Su did not know what Jinan was thinking. However, after hearing what Jinan had said just now, he had already decided to leave the Jin family. However, looking at the dark sky, he let out a long sigh. It's getting late. I'll talk to Miss Yoon about leaving tomorrow. It's already so late, she must be resting by now. Furthermore, he believed that the Jin family wouldn't be able to stir up any trouble in one night. Thinking of this, he entered his room, closed the door, undressed, and went to bed to rest. However, Chi Su did not fall asleep for long before he felt the door being pushed open, followed by an unfamiliar aura. He did not open his eyes. He wanted to know what this woman was going to do. He, who had studied medicine with Yun Yueqing since he was young, subconsciously closed his eyes, afraid that someone would plot against him. Chapter 1905. However, that person did not use any smoke or poison him. Instead, she walked to his bedside. Then, there was a tearing sound and the sound of cloth being torn. Chi Su finally couldn't help but open his eyes and look at the girl standing at the bedside. At this moment, the girl's face was as pale as ever. Her clothes were torn and her naked body appeared in front of him. Jinan, what do you want? Chi Su sneered. Seduction? Unfortunately, it doesn't work on me. Your body is no different from bones to me. Mr. Chi Su, I'm sorry. I had no choice. Jinan's face was full of misery. If you didn't refuse to help me, I wouldn't be forced to this extent. Chi Su turned over from the bed and said coldly, I originally wanted to leave after tonight. Since you forced me to do this, then I'll leave now. Between you and I'll cut off all ties. Leave? Jinan smiled miserably. It's not up to you anymore. After saying this, she suddenly let out a shrill scream. This scream was very abrupt in the night, and it also broke the silence of the night. Chi Su was not stupid. At first, he thought that Jinan wanted to seduce him. Now that he heard the scream, he understood her real purpose. This time, his face completely changed. Jinan, are you gambling with your reputation? Do you think that I will do as you wish? Even if you slander me, I will not marry you. He really didn't expect that Jinan would go this far, and he also regretted it in his heart. If he knew that Jinan would be like this, he shouldn't have come to the Jin family. I know that you won't be controlled by others and you won't marry me because of this. But what if your fiancé knows about this? Do you think she will believe you? Jinan took 2 steps closer to Chi Su. But, if you help me and pretend to marry me, I will explain to your fiancé in the future. Jinan put away the feelings of love in her heart and pressed him aggressively. This is a deal, how about it? She didn't want to marry Chi Su now. She just wanted to save her mother. Chi Su smiled sarcastically. Do you think I'll believe you? I only know that I have to be swift and decisive. I won't give anyone a chance to pester me. Chi Su, why are you so cruel? Jinan's eyes were full of pain. It's easy for you. You just need to deal with it casually and you can save a person's life. Even if you don't consider the fact that I've helped you, you shouldn't be so heartless. I never thought that the man I've loved for so many years would leave me in the lurch. Chi Su smiled coldly. Save someone who schemed against me? I'm not that kind. If that's the case, then don't blame me for being cruel. Jinan smiled bleakly and slowly closed her eyes. In her heart, she had already lost all hope for Chi Su. If he was willing to help her now, she might explain to others that this was a misunderstanding. Now that he was heartless, don't blame me for being heartless. Suddenly, Jian opened her eyes. Her gaze was filled with determination. At this moment, a series of footsteps came from outside the door. Then, A group of people broke the door and quickly surrounded the entire room. The first to enter were Jian Bowen and Jian Yi. After the two of them saw the scene in the room, the former frowned and the latter's face was full of contempt. Chapter 1906. Miss Yoon. At the same time, Chi-Su saw the woman in white standing by the door. His lips moved and his eyes were filled with helplessness. His expression seemed to be saying that he didn't know this would happen either. Yoon Luofeng crossed her arms in front of her chest and leaned lazily against the doorsill. Her devilish eyes slanted upwards and her lips curled into a smile. Based on her understanding of Chi-Su, he would never make such a mistake. So, there was only one reason. Yoon Luofeng narrowed her eyes and the smile in her eyes deepened, but it was filled with endless coldness. But she didn't intend to help Chi-Su solve this problem. If Chi-Su couldn't even solve such a small problem, how could she believe in his abilities? It's getting late, you should solve it quickly. She stretched lazily and said calmly. What she meant was that he should solve the problem quickly so that he wouldn't disturb her rest. Humph! Jian Bowen snorted and his face darkened. What's going on? Jianan looked at Chi-Su and bit her lip. She looked humiliated. Dad, I don't know what's going on either. I was sleeping just now, but I suddenly fainted. When I woke up, I found myself in Master Chi-Su's room. I don't know anything else. Her meaning was clear. She was sleeping soundly at first, but she was accidentally drugged by the sleeping gas, and was even kidnapped by Chi-Su. As soon as they saw her messy appearance, everyone could guess what had just happened. I don't believe it. Why didn't he take advantage of others but you? Jian Yi sneered and her face was full of mockery. I think it's because your usual behavior isn't simple. That's why he took advantage of you. Jianan's expression changed and her body stiffened. She had already guessed that her behavior would definitely provoke Jian Yi's humiliation. But for her mother, she did it without hesitation. Even so, she still felt very sad when she heard Jian Yi's words. Jianan, how dare someone like you covet Master Ji? Jian Yi raised her chin and said arrogantly, you should go back and look at yourself in the mirror. You look like a toad lusting after swan meat. Now that you've lost your chastity, it's even more impossible for you to marry Master Ji. Jianan's head almost sank into the dust. Anyone who saw her would sympathize with her. Jian Bowen furrowed his brows as he looked at Chi-Su. His eyes were no longer as cold as they had been in the beginning. Instead, he looked like a father-in-law looking at his son-in-law. Since this has already happened, you must take responsibility for my daughter and marry her. By the way, I've heard that you're from the Qi family of Drifting Wind Country? The Qi family seems to have many spirit herb mountain ranges, and I'm not asking for much. Just give me 3 as a betrothal gift. On this continent, due to the dense spiritual energy, medicinal herbs could also be upgraded to spiritual herbs. However, the growth of spirit herbs required not only dense spiritual energy, but also a natural mountain range. Although the other mountain ranges also produced spiritual herbs, the quantity of those spiritual herbs could be counted on one hand, unlike those natural spiritual herb mountain ranges. But the Qi clan only had 5 spirit herb mountain ranges in total. The Jian family asked for 3 of them right away. How could such a good thing exist in this world? Chi-Su sneered. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Sure enough, this group of people were jackals of the same tribe, greedy and insatiable. Chapter 1907. Do you think that a daughter of a mistress is worth the price of 3 mountains of spiritual medicine? Chi-Su's handsome face was filled with disdain and his eyes were filled with mockery. His voice was cold and emotionless and it made Jianan's heart tremble. She clenched her fists tightly and felt as if her heart was being squeezed. The pain was unbearable. Initially, she had thought that she could let go of this relationship and only talk about business. Little did she know that one sentence from this young man could send her to the 18th level of hell. Yoon Luofeng, who was leaning against the door, raised her head and looked at Chi-Su. She clearly did not expect him to say such hurtful words. However, she still did not intend to help Chi-Su. She believed that Chi-Su would have a way to solve this matter. Jian Bowen's face alternated between white and red. He had thought that since Chi Su had done such a thing to his own daughter, he would try every means possible to obtain her. Besides, the appearance of such a scandal would certainly affect Chi Su's status in Drifting Wind Country. Hence, using 3 mountains of spiritual medicine as the price was not too much. If you're not willing to give me 3 mountains of spiritual medicine, then 1 mountain should be enough, right? Jian Bowen took a deep breath and asked. 1 mountain was already his bottom line. I'm sorry, in my heart, she's not even worth a copper coin. Chi Su raised his eyes and his icy gaze fell upon Jian Bowen. His face was expressionless. Jianan suddenly raised her eyes and stared at Chi Su in disbelief. Her lips were trembling and her face was drained of blood. How could this man be so heartless? Does he not have a single ounce of compassion in his heart? Chi Su, what on earth do you want? Jian Bowen's expression turned cold. You've molested my daughter. Are you going to let this slide? If this gets out, how is she going to get married in the future? Whether she gets married or not has nothing to do with me. She found out about this on her own. I've never laid a finger on her. You didn't lay a finger on her? Then what happened to her clothes? Are you going to tell me that she tore them herself? Jian Bowen laughed icily and spoke in a disdainful tone. He knew his daughter very well. Even though she was very ambitious, she would never stoop to such a thing. Since she said that I raped her just now, let's get someone to check her body and see if she's still a virgin. Chi Su said calmly with one hand behind his back. Jianan's body trembled even more violently. She raised her finger and pointed at Chi Su. Chi Su, how dare you do such a thing to me? You've already taken me by force, yet you still want me to test my body and suffer such humiliation. If word of this gets out, everyone in the world will know that I've lost my chastity. How am I supposed to live? Do you really want to force me to death? Tears flowed down her cheeks and she bit her lips tightly. Her expression was one of humiliation, as if she had been humiliated by Chi Su. Chi Su, I know that you have a fiancé, but you disregarded the fact that I had once saved your life and hurt me like this. Shouldn't you take responsibility? Chi Su said coldly, I want to check your body. If you're not a virgin, I'll marry you. If you're a virgin, then it proves that this is all your own doing. Hearing this, Jianan was shocked. Just as she was about to continue reprimanding him, a woman staggered in from outside the house. My daughter, these bastards actually dared to do this to you. Check your body, you have to check it. Hurry and find an experienced woman. I want the person who took my daughter to be responsible for this. Chapter 1908. Jianan's face changed completely. Body check. Wouldn't it all be in vain? This mother of his really couldn't do anything right, but she was good at spoiling things. If it weren't for her, how could she be forced to this extent? Now she was trying to undermine her. Mom! Jianan let out a heavy shout. This was supposed to be a warning, but when the woman heard it, she only heard grievance. Daughter, don't worry. I will help you. Go and find someone to do the body check. Jianan's face had already turned pale. I'm not sure if Chi Su really had sex with me. After all, I was in a coma at the time. But it's a fact that she tore my clothes and molested me. When I woke up, I saw her on top of me. What she said was reasonable, and no one could think of a way to refute it. Chi Su. After saying that, she looked at Chi Su again. Even if you didn't have sex with me, so what? You saw me naked and tore my clothes. Don't you need to take responsibility? Jian Bowen also felt that Jianan's words were very reasonable. He immediately said with a cold face, Mr. Chi Su, my daughter is innocent. Your behavior is equivalent to destroying her innocence. I don't care if you had sex with her or not. Today, you must take responsibility. Chi Su smiled. Jianan kept saying that I was on top of her. Then, I want to ask you, have you ever seen someone rape a woman with clothes on? Everyone present was stunned. They didn't notice it just now. Yes, Chi Su was clearly wearing clothes. Why did Jianan keep saying that he wanted to have sex with her? Jianan had already thought of an excuse. She looked down and said, Chi Su put on clothes after I woke up and saw that the situation was not good. Really? In that case, you have seen my naked body before. Then let me ask you, is my hemorrhoid on the left shoulder or the right shoulder? Chi Su raised a smile on his face, and his eyes were cold. Jinan was stunned. How could she know whether his hemorrhoid was on the left shoulder or the right shoulder? However, she understood that since Chi Su asked this question, it was impossible for her not to answer it. Moreover, there were only two answers. Even if it was a guess, there was a 50% chance. After thinking for a while, Jinan answered, "Left shoulder." Chi Su smiled. After seeing his smile, Jian and Xian panicked. "No, I remembered wrong. It's the right shoulder. Congratulations." Whoosh! Chi Su took off his clothes, revealing his smooth and delicate shoulders. "You hit the wrong person. There is no mole on my shoulder." Jianan's body went limp and she almost fell to the ground. She leaned on the woman's body to stabilize herself. Chi Su actually tricked her? How could he be so heartless? At this point, coupled with the flustered expression on Jianan's face, even someone as slow-witted as Jenny could see something. She opened her mouth wide in surprise and covered it tightly. After a long time, she took a deep breath and said, "Jianan, how dare you use your innocence as a bet to frame others? TSK, how could you do such a shameless thing? You're really a disgrace to the Jian family. Father, I think we should kick this mother and daughter out of the Jian family." As these words fell, the woman suddenly panicked. She hurriedly pulled Jianan's arm and said, "Quick, please beg your father. We can't leave the Jian family." "Mother." Jianan's voice was very weak. She knew that this time, she was finished. Chapter 1909. Child. Why are you so useless? Why are you making your father worry for you? Hurry up and apologize to your father so that you don't get kicked out of the house. The woman scolded. Jian and bit her lips and did not make a sound. She was tired. She was really tired. She was exhausted so that her mother could stay in the Jian family. Now that the truth is out, you still want to force me to marry her? Chi Su lowered his eyes and glanced at Jinan. His voice was cold and emotionless. How can such a scheming woman enter the Qi family? The dust had settled. Yun Luofeng straightened his body. Under the cold moonlight, a lazy smile appeared on his face. "Chi Su, I'm sleepy. Let's go." Okay. Chi Su did not say another word to the Jian family and walked towards Yun Luofeng. He did not want to stay in this place anymore. "Wait." Jian Bowen's eyes flashed and he scolded. "Chi Su, who allowed you to leave? If I say that you took advantage of then you must have. I'm telling you, you must marry her today. Otherwise, you will not leave the Jian family." In reality, there was a reason why Jian Bowen dared to treat Chi Su this way. He had sent a servant to Drifting Wind Country and stayed there for a few years. Now, he had returned to Tianqi Country. Therefore, when he found out about Chi Su's identity, he secretly inquired about the Chi family's situation from that servant. Therefore, Jian Bowen already knew that Chi Su's powerful master, Yun Yueqing, had disappeared, and the Chi family was under Chi Su's control. In his eyes, the current Chi Su was just a person with a huge amount of wealth but not much strength. Although he had the royal family of Drifting Wind Country as his backing, didn't the Jian family also have the royal family of Tianqi Country to rely on? If he could make Chi Su marry Jian, and then all the wealth of the Chi family would be in his hands. As for Chi Su's fiancée, the fourth princess of Drifting Wind Country, he did not really care. Since she was his fiancée, no one would dare to say anything even if he did not marry her. Furthermore, he did not think that the barbaric princess of Drifting Wind Country could compare to his well-educated daughter. Chi Su stopped in his tracks and sneered. "Who do you think you are? How dare you interfere with my marriage? Besides, I've told Jianan before that I have a fiancé in Drifting Wind Nation. Wouldn't it be fine if you don't marry that fiancé?" Jian Bowen was very disapproving. He really didn't want to give up such a good son-in-law. A cold glint flashed across Chi Su's eyes. "My fiancée is the fourth princess of Drifting Wind Country. Your daughter is merely the daughter of a concubine. What right does she have to be compared to my fiancé?" He didn't want to use his status to oppress others, but unfortunately, These people were too unreasonable. He had no choice but to reveal Mu Shuixin's identity. Jianan raised her head in surprise. No wonder he didn't like her. It turned out that his fiancée was a princess. Jian Bowen frowned. My daughter is willing to share a husband with the fourth princess. When the time comes, you can give my daughter the title of Madame Ping. Of course, the spiritual herb mountain range was indispensable as well, at least two. Otherwise, I'll ruin your reputation. She's willing to marry, but I'm not. Qi Su had already walked to Yun Luofeng's side. He looked at the woman in front of him with an apologetic expression. I'm sorry, Miss Yun. I've disturbed your rest. Yun Luofeng slowly put down her crossed arms. The corners of her lips curled up as she looked at Jian Bowen with a smile. A cold light shone in her pitch-black eyes. Chapter 1910. Do you know how the Qi family of Drifting Wind Country was destroyed? Yun Luofeng curled the corners of his lips and asked in a nonchalant manner. Jian Bowen was stunned. Suddenly, he remembered what the servant had told him. Coincidentally, that servant was near the Qi family of Drifting Wind Country. Even more coincidentally, he was fortunate enough to witness the destruction of the Qi family. It was said that a woman who was as powerful as an enlightened master had appeared and assisted Qi Su in reclaiming the Qi family's position. That woman's medical skills were superb. She had even cured the terminally ill emperor of Drifting Wind Country. Could it be that this woman was the one in front of him? Jian Bowen's expression changed. If she had the power of an enlightened master, then he would not be able to do anything to Qi Su today. Qi Su, let's go. Yun Luofeng looked at Jian Bowen's pale face and knew that his words had frightened him. He did not stay any longer and slowly walked out of the Jian residence. Qi Su. Jianan paled when she saw that Qi Su was about to walk out. She quickly got up and chased after him. Her eyes were filled with despair. Can you really bear to leave me behind? Don't tell me. You've forgotten how I helped you back then? Even if you don't want to marry me, I'm willing to be your concubine. In reality, Jianan had never wanted to be a concubine back then. She was even more unwilling to follow in her mother's footsteps. But now, the man she had fallen in love with was Qi Su. She was willing to give up her dignity and become his concubine. More importantly, only Qi Su could take her away from the Jian residence. Qi Su paused in his steps and turned to look at Jianan. His handsome face was shrouded in coldness. Do you want to leave with me so badly? She did not know why, but when she saw the look in Qi Su's eyes, Jianan felt flustered. Go, and will definitely leave with you. The woman quickly walked up to Jianan and said, An even if you become a concubine of the Qi family, you will not be burying your identity. You should leave with him, your father also wants you to marry him. Qi Su had only asked, but the woman thought that Qi Su was asking if Jianan was willing to leave with him. She seemed to have forgotten how Jianan had schemed against Qi Su and how Qi Su had treated her. If that's the case, Qi Su smiled coldly. One of my subordinates has yet to marry, so I'll give her to my subordinate. Don't blame him for being heartless. All of this could only be blamed on Jianan for scheming against him in every possible way. He would never be soft-hearted towards such a woman. Jianan was stunned. Perhaps she did not expect that these words were said by the man she loved. How was he going to give her away like a commodity? Jian Bowen's expression also changed greatly. He glanced at Yun Luofeng, as if thinking about something. After a long time, he gritted his teeth and said, An Go with him. Dad. Jianan screamed, her face full of disbelief. Listen to me and go with him. Qi Su had personally acted as a matchmaker for that subordinate, so he must have been highly regarded. At that time, he would instigate this subordinate to work for the Jian family. And the woman comforted. Your father's words will not be wrong. Even though you're only marrying a subordinate, you're still a legal wife. Moreover, the Qi family is a big family in Drifting Wind Country. They will not mistreat you. What broke Jianan's heart even more was the woman's words. Her eyes were red and she staggered a few steps backwards. Chapter 1911. Mother, I've been living for you all my life. You said that women must listen to men, so you did everything according to father. I also did as you wished and became an obedient daughter. Even when father asked me to seduce Chisu, I did it because he said that if I didn't marry Chisu, he would take your life. For you, I risked my reputation and broke off relations with Chisu to do such a thing. But in the end, father wants me to be given to a servant, and you still want me to listen? Jinan was heartbroken. Her entire life was a tragedy. And the woman paused and a hint of guilt flashed across her eyes. Be obedient. Your father won't harm you. Jinan sneered and closed her eyes gently. After a long time, she opened them and turned to look at Chisu. Okay. Chisu, I'll go with you. Miss Yun. Chisu smiled and looked at Yun Luofeng. It seems that our trip to the kingdom of Tianqi this time was not in vain. At least our Qi family's uncle sweeper has a wife. In the future, he will sweep the floors of our Qi family even more diligently. Jinan, who was already filled with despair, immediately widened her eyes and trembled when she heard this. The person Chisu wanted to give her to was just a sweeper? Jinan has some strength. Yun Luofeng stroked his chin. So, you should first cripple her strength to prevent her from bullying the old man. That's true. The uncle sweeper is almost 100 years old. How could he withstand Jinan's torment? So, you should indeed cripple her strength. Chisu nodded in agreement. Jinan's face turned pale. With a boom, her mind went blank as if it had been struck by thunder. Chisu, don't you think you've gone too far? Jen Bowen's face was ashen and the veins on his forehead bulged. He clenched his fists tightly and suppressed the anger in his heart. Chisu's expression did not change in the face of Jen Bowen's anger, as if he did not see it. Yun Luofeng stretched lazily. Chisu, I'm tired. Then let's go now. Chisu's voice was filled with respect. Then, he grabbed Jinan's lapel and dragged her out of the door like a mop. Stop. Jen Bowen was just about to get angry when he saw the woman in white slowly stop under the moonlight. Her back was facing the crowd, and her arrogant voice gradually sounded in the cold night. If anyone dares to take a step forward, I'll break their legs. This sentence caused Jen Bowen's feet to stop. He subconsciously stopped and watched as Yun Luofeng left. However, his heart was filled with regret. He had really suffered a double loss. If he had not wanted to marry Jinan to Chisu, maybe he could have found someone to exchange his daughter for a fortune. Patriarch, are you all right? The woman stood weakly at the side. She wasn't too sad about her daughter's departure. In her heart, the most important thing was her man. As long as Jen Bowen was safe and sound, she would be satisfied. Look at what kind of good daughter you've raised. Jen Bowen slapped the woman's face and left with a flick of his sleeve. The woman stood behind him. Her eyes were full of guilt. It was all her fault for not teaching her daughter well. That was why the patriarch was so angry. The second prince's residence. The girl leaned on the soft couch with a pale face. Her expression was painful and her eyes were tightly shut. Chapter 1912. Second brother Chi sat next to her, his eyes filled with remorse. Ruer, I didn't take good care of you. If your sister were to find out, she would blame me. Hearing this, Yu Xianxian slowly opened her tired eyes and a weak smile appeared on her pale face. Brother-in-law, it's not your fault. If it wasn't for my sister's last words, I would have been given to the third prince as a concubine by my father. But your illness. Compared to my illness, I'm more afraid of being the third prince's concubine. Brother-in-law, did you know that the third prince is very cruel? I even heard that he tortured one of his concubines to death. As she spoke, the young girl began to sob. How could those people be so cruel? They actually wanted to give me to the third prince. In reality, her sister, who used to be the second prince's concubine, had also been given to the second prince by those so-called relatives. Fortunately, the second prince had fallen in love with her sister at first sight and had gone against everyone's wishes to marry her. He treated her like a treasure. When her sister was still alive, the Lin family had treated her very well. Unfortunately, once her sister had passed away, they wanted to give her away. So, her sister had left those last words, because she was worried about her young daughter, and wanted to find an excuse to get her out. Her sister also believed that the second prince would protect her for the rest of her life for her sake. Rest well. I won't let you go into the world. You can stay in my residence for the next few days. Yu Xianxian wanted to say something, but the man sitting by the bed had already stood up. His exhausted, handsome face was now filled with determination. She was very touched to see the second prince like this. At the same time, she understood that the second prince had only treated her this way because of her sister's last words. But he didn't know that she had fallen in love with him, however. The second prince only had her sister in his heart. She didn't want to marry someone who loved her. So, she had agreed to be Princess Qi Yu's mother in name. Once she found a man who truly loved her, the second prince would let her go. Your Highness. Just then, a guard walked in and said respectfully, "Someone who calls himself Qi Su is here to see you." Qi Su? Second brother Qi was stunned for a moment before he ordered, "Let him in." "Yes, Your Highness." The guard retreated. Ahem. Yu Xianxian coughed and sat up on the bed with difficulty. She smiled weakly and asked, "Brother-in-law, who is this Qi Su?" "Qi Su is someone I met in the Drifting Wind Nation. The spirit-gathering elixir and the puppets I have were all obtained from him." "I see. If that's the case, then Qi Su is really powerful." "Of course." Second brother Qi laughed. "If it wasn't for the fact that Qi Su already has a fiancé, I really wanted to be your matchmaker." "What a pity." Yu Xianxian smiled and didn't say anything. In this lifetime, after seeing a man like her brother-in-law, it was really hard for her to fall in love with anyone else. Even if her brother-in-law could never forget her sister, she was willing to stay by his side as his sister. That was enough. At this moment, under the guidance of the guards, a man and a woman walked towards them. The youth was incomparably handsome, and his every movement was filled with nobility. As for the woman next to him, the moment Yu Xianxian saw her, her eyes flashed with amazement. No one would not be tempted by such a beautiful woman. Chapter 19:13. But she didn't know why, but this woman's face gave her a sense of familiarity. She seemed to have seen her somewhere before. Yu Xianxian frowned and fell into deep thought. "Greetings, Your Highness." Qi Su cupped his fists and said loudly. Yun Luofeng stood with her hands behind her back. Her hair flowed like a waterfall in the wind. Her dark eyes were deep, and her figure was proud and aloof. "Young Master Qi, you've come from afar, but I'm not in the mood to welcome you. Please don't blame me." Second brother Qi smiled. When he lowered his head, he saw Yu Xianxian's thoughtful face. "Ruo, what are you thinking about?" Yu Xianxian tilted her head. "I think this sister looks familiar. I think I've seen her somewhere before." Her unintentional words made Yun Luofeng's eyes narrow. His deep gaze landed on Yu Xianxian's face. Familiar? Could it be Yun Yueqing? Qi Su thought of this too and immediately became excited. "Miss, have you seen my master before?" Second brother Qi knew Qi Su a little and had heard of Yun Yueqing's name. When he heard this, he looked at Yu Xianxian in shock. "Ah, I remember now." Yu Xianxian called out excitedly. "It's Benefactor. She looks very much like Benefactor." "Benefactor? Do you know what your benefactor's name is?" Qi Su's breathing quickened as he asked nervously. "A year ago, when my sister was still alive, my sister and I were being chased. It was our benefactor who descended from the sky and saved us. She said that she was friends with my mother, so she saved us. Half a year ago, I also saw her at my sister's funeral. She only took a quick glance at us and left. Their mother passed away early. They didn't know that their mother had such a friend. However, they didn't suspect their benefactor at all." "You and your sister were being hunted?" Second brother Qi's breathing quickened. He instinctively grabbed Yu Xianxian's hand and asked, "Brother-in-law, you're hurting me." Yu Xianxian frowned. A helpless expression appeared on her weak face. "My sister didn't let me say it." Qi Lauer's face flashed with embarrassment. He let go of his hand and said, "Sorry, I didn't mean to." At this moment, Qi Su was overwhelmed with emotions. He could not help but cry, "Master, it's Master. She's still alive. I knew it." Master must be alive. But why is Master still alive but not coming to see me? Chisu really could not understand this problem, so he simply stopped thinking about it. Nothing was more important than the fact that his master was still alive. Yun Luofeng's eyes flashed. If Yun Yueqing was still alive, would she be Bai Ling? According to what Chisu had said, Yun Yueqing had lost her memory. If she was really Bai Ling and had recalled everything, she would be in agony when she found out that Yun Yang was dead. After all, to her, if Yun Xiao was no longer around, then her life would become meaningless. Big sister, who are you to benefactor? Yu Xianxian looked at Yun Luofeng, her big bright eyes shining with naivety. Although her complexion was very weak, it could not conceal her once lively aura. Yun Luofeng thought for a moment. She could be my mother. Really? Yu Xianxian's eyes brightened and she smiled. Big sister, if you meet benefactor in the future, thank him on my behalf. I'm afraid I won't be able to speak to him personally. Xianxian, don't say such silly things. You'll be fine. Second brother Qi frowned and chided her. Chapter 19:14. He couldn't hide the deep worry in his eyes. Brother-in-law, I know my body. Can't make it. Furthermore, my sister is my only family member. Wouldn't it be better to reunite with her and her sister when I reach the underworld? Yu Xianxian lowered her eyes and smiled softly. She wasn't lying. She was speaking from the bottom of her heart. The only thing she couldn't let go of was this brother-in-law and her young niece. Just as second brother Qi's heart was filled with worry, a heavenly voice fell into his ears, causing his body to suddenly stiffen. I can save her. I can save her. These 4 simple words made second brother Qi's heart beat faster. He took a deep breath and suppressed the emotions in his heart. He raised his head and looked at Yun Luofeng. What are your conditions? At first, he thought that Yun Luofeng was Qi-Su's woman. Only later did he realize that he was wrong. She had destroyed the Qi family, and she was even the owner of the elixir gathering hall. Then how could she be willing to become Qi-Su's woman? He couldn't believe that such a powerful woman didn't have an ulterior motive. I want the entire Feng Yun continent. Yun Luofeng narrowed her eyes and her lips curled into a smile as she said calmly. Second brother Qi sneered. The Feng Yun continent is so big. Do you think you can have it just because you want it? As long as I want it, I will definitely have it. Yun Luofeng looked very confident. So, my first step is the state of Tianqi. Second brother Qi was a little surprised. This woman's appetite was really big. She wanted to swallow the state of Tianqi? More importantly, he was just a prince. What ability did he have to give the state of Tianqi to her? Miss Yun, I'm afraid you found the wrong person. I can't give you the state of Tianqi. No, you can. Yun Luofeng smiled lightly. As long as you can ascend the throne, you can give it to me. Second brother Qi fell silent. You mean you want me to listen to your orders? Become your puppet? He pondered for a moment before looking at Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng smiled. I already have enough puppets by my side. What's the use of one more? Don't worry, I only want you to listen to me, but not be a puppet. I can guarantee you this. You can think about it carefully. If you agree to this condition of mine, I'll help you deal with them and help you ascend the throne. It had to be said that Yun Luofeng's words were indeed very tempting. The competition for the throne was too great. It would be very difficult for him to ascend to this position alone. Furthermore, Xianxian was on the verge of collapsing. All right, I promise you. After thinking for a moment, he raised his head and looked at Yun Luofeng. Brother-in-law. Yu Xianxian shouted in surprise. She bit her lips and said, I don't deserve this. Second brother Qi's expression softened. Don't talk nonsense. I promised your sister that I would protect you for life. How could I let anything happen to you? As long as there is a chance, I will not give it up. After he finished speaking, second brother Qi looked at Yun Luofeng and asked, If you can cure Xianxian, I'll agree to your condition. However, I still want to ask you something. There are so many princes in the state of Tianqi. Why did you choose me? Because there are so many princes in the state of Tianqi. You are the only one who will not go against morality. Before coming to the state of Tianqi, Yun Luofeng had asked Qi Su to investigate these princes. This was also the reason why he chose second brother Qi. Chapter 19:15. The person she wanted to subdue definitely couldn't be a heartless person. Second brother Qi was loyal to his wife. Even after her death, he followed his wife's will and took care of her sister. This was the kind of man she wanted to be with. Miss Yun, if you want to conquer the wind cloud continent, you have a chance. Chance? Yun Luofeng narrowed her eyes. What chance? 3 months later, there will be a 4-nation competition. At that time, one person will be chosen to be the ruler of the 4 nations. Hearing this, Yun Luofeng's heart suddenly jumped. Yun Xiao would definitely go to the 4-nation competition. If she went with the people from the nation of Tianqi, she might be able to meet Yun Xiao. Thinking of this, her lips curled up. What are the qualifications to participate in the 4-nation competition? The princes of the 4 nations will have a chance to go. You just need to follow me then. Alright, inform me then. I will come immediately. Yun Luofeng stroked her chin. She had a premonition that she would definitely meet Yun Xiao in the 4-nation competition. Miss Yun, I want to go too. Qi Su became excited. Master will definitely be interested in this kind of place. If she is alive, she will definitely go to the 4-nation competition. At the thought of being able to see his master, he became excited. Second brother Qi smiled. Miss Yun, when will you treat Xianxian? Yun Luofeng was silent for a while. Tomorrow. Before the treatment, we still need to make some preparations. Alright, if you need any spiritual medicine, just tell me. I will definitely go and get it. As long as he could treat Yu Xianxian, he was willing to go bankrupt. Yun Luofeng did not stand on ceremony. After all, she would not use her own spiritual medicine to treat others. Therefore, she wrote down a lot of things and handed them to Qi Lauer, asking him to prepare them. Second brother Qi left. Yun Luofeng and Qi Su also left. Only Yu Xianxian was left in the room. Yu Xianxian knew from the start that the second prince did this for her because of her sister. However, she did not feel sad because of this. Instead, she felt glad. If brother-in-law was not such a sentimental person, why would she be attracted to him? Furthermore, she did not want brother-in-law to forget her sister. Sister, if I can survive this, I will definitely take care of Qiyu for the rest of her life and watch her grow up. I will protect the second prince's residence for you. I will not let anyone have the chance to bully you, even if it ruined his entire life. Yu Xianxian's illness was caused by a chronic poison. The poison was complicated, and normal doctors couldn't tell what it was, which was why no one could cure her. If he wanted to detoxify the poison, it would take a few days. When the second prince heard that Yu Xianxian was poisoned, he was furious and ordered his men to investigate the matter. However, she didn't tell Yu Xianxian about it. She did it behind her back. Fortunately, with Yun Luofeng's treatment, Yu Xianxian's poison was under control, and her body was no longer as weak as before. During this period of time, the Jian family did not find trouble with Yun Luofeng. As for Jianan, no matter how much she resisted, she was still crippled and sent back to the Qi family. Regarding this, Jian Bowen was shocked by Yun Luofeng's strength. He did not even dare to say a word. He only hoped that he would not be implicated. After all, he was only a god. Yun Luofeng could even defeat a god. Killing him would be as easy as waving his hand. Chapter 1916. Second Prince's Residence. Yu Xianxian leaned back on the bed. Her delicate face was filled with a smile. Compared to before, her complexion was much better. Today is the last acupuncture. This time, I will expel all the remaining poison from your body. Yun Luofeng put away the needles and glanced indifferently at the young girl on the bed as he spoke slowly. Yu Xianxian smiled faintly. I really have to thank you this time. If not for you, my body would not have lasted more than a few months. There is no need to thank me. This is my deal with the second prince. Yun Luofeng had cured her and helped the second prince ascend to the throne. As for him, she had made use of him. Xianxian, you are finally fine. Second brother Qi relaxed. This way, I can be worthy of your dead sister. Yu Xianxian's eyes dimmed. However, when she saw second brother Qi's joyful expression, her lips curled up slightly. Brother-in-law, I promised my sister that I would look for Yue for the rest of her life. Now I will fulfill my promise and take care of her. Second brother Qi's eyes were filled with excitement. Then, he turned his head to look at Yun Luofeng. Miss Yun, I know that you saved Xianxian because you wanted me to join your faction. However, I still have to thank you. If not for you, At this point, this man, who was already in his 30s, could no longer speak. His voice was choked with emotion. For this favor, he was even willing to become Yun Luofeng's subordinate. Qi Ling, I will get the spirit-gathering medicinal hall to provide you with sufficient spirit-gathering medicinal liquid. Furthermore, I will let you choose the puppets. Are you confident of obtaining first place in the four-nation youth competition? Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. His domineering tone was exceptionally clear in the quiet room. Qi Ling's heart skipped a beat. If Yun Luofeng provided him with an unlimited amount of spirit-gathering medicinal liquid, it would not be difficult for him to obtain victory in the four-nation youth competition. Give me time. As long as I have enough time, I can train an invincible team. Good. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. Other than the spirit-gathering elixir, I also have a foundation elixir. This elixir is suitable for those who have just started cultivating. At that time, you can choose some young geniuses and start training them from a young age. These geniuses will become the overlords of the Wind and Cloud continent in the future. Back in the Roaring Dragon continent, under the surveillance of the royal family, Yun Luofeng had recruited a group of people who were considered to be trash. Unfortunately, after her training, these good-for-nothings broke through and became geniuses in a short period of time. In their transformation, the foundation-building liquid was an indispensable existence. If these people were originally geniuses, how terrifying would their changes be? Hence, Yun Luofeng was not boasting. One day, those geniuses would become the overlords of the Wind and Cloud continent. Qi Ling's heart skipped a beat, and his eyes lit up. Hearing Yun Luofeng's words, he knew that the effects of the Foundation Establishment medicinal liquid were even more formidable. Miss Yun, leave the task of recruiting geniuses to me. As for naming the legions that these geniuses belong to, I'll leave that to you. Yun Luofeng was silent for a moment. She looked up at the sky and her lips curled into a faint smile. Let's call it the Wind-Piercing Army. Wind-Piercing Legion. Qi Ling felt that this name was very strange. However, he did not ask about it. Instead, he laughed and said, Good. In the future, that team will be called Wind-Piercing Legion. Elder sister. Yu Xianxian sat up on the bed with an innocent smile on her face. There is still some time before the four-nation youth competition. Now that my body has recovered, how about I take care of elder sister during this period of time? Chapter 1917. Yun Luofeng glanced at Yu Xianxian. Perhaps she wanted to get more information about Yun Yueqing from the girl, so she nodded. Okay. Yu Xianxian smiled. Her smile was innocent, and her big, bright eyes were filled with joy. Sister. Yu Xianxian slowly got off the bed and walked to Yun Luofeng's side. She hooked her arm around Yun Luofeng's elbow and said with a smile, I know a restaurant that serves pretty good food. This time, I'll be the host and I'll take you to have a taste. Xianxian, your body. Qi Ling looked at Yu Xianxian worriedly. Ever since her body had gradually recovered, Yu Xianxian was no longer the sickly beauty that she used to be. Her smile was very bright and charming, and she looked very charming. Brother-in-law, I've been lying down for so many days. I should go out and breathe some fresh air. Don't worry. Seeing this, Qi Ling didn't say anything else. He sighed. Then be careful. Yun Luofeng glanced at Qi Ling and saw the worry between his brows. He calmly raised the corners of his lips. She's right. She needs to go out for a walk and breathe some fresh air. Besides, with a doctor like me around, do you still need to worry about her safety? Qi Ling paused and smiled. Then I'll have to trouble Miss Yun. Xianxian, listen to Miss Yun outside. Don't cause trouble for her. Okay? Yu Xianxian playfully stuck out her tongue. Brother-in-law, am I someone who only knows how to cause trouble? Don't worry. If I meet the third prince's group, I'll definitely take a detour. Qi Ling shook his head helplessly. He didn't stop Yu Xianxian from leaving. After they left, Qi Ling's expression darkened. What? Still can't find anything? In the silent room, a black figure slowly descended and said respectfully, Your Highness, this subordinate has already searched the entire backyard of the prince's residence. I haven't found anyone who committed the crime. Could it be that the people who murdered my wife and sister aren't the women in the backyard? The second prince narrowed his eyes. Then expand the scope for this prince. Search the entire country of Tianqi. If I find out who is so daring, I won't let him off. Bang! Qi Ling's fist landed heavily on the wall. His face was ugly and his eyes were filled with anger. Who dared to poison his people in the prince's mansion? If he found out who did it, he would definitely not let them off lightly. On the bustling street, outside a splendid restaurant, a crowd was chattering and chattering. That group of people surrounded a young man dressed in rags. The young man's back was facing Yun Luofeng, so Yun Luofeng could not see his face clearly. However, his slender figure seemed extremely frail as he stood amidst the violent storm. Stinky beggar, what gall you have, to actually dare come to our heaven prayer tower to steal things. Break this stinking beggar's legs and make him beg for death. Who doesn't know that this heavenly prayer tower is the property of the third prince? How dare they steal from the third prince's territory? Are they seeking death? When Yun Luofeng heard these people's words, she was not affected in the slightest. After all, there were many pitiful people in this world, and not everyone was worthy of her help. But, just as Yun Luofeng walked past, she seemed to subconsciously glance at the young man. In that instant, her brows sank and her pupils constricted. Chapter 19:18. Even though the youth was dressed in rags, his face was clean and clear. His tightly clenched fists trembled slightly as if he was enduring extreme pain. Perhaps noticing the surprised gaze from the side, the youth also turned to look over. When he saw the picturesque woman in white, the youth's eyes contained countless emotions: grief, indignation, and a very heavy resentment. Yun Luofeng never thought that she would meet Mo Chenqing at this kind of time and place. She also never thought that the once insufferably arrogant youth would also be reduced to such a state, however. Yun Luofeng suddenly thought of Yun Zhao's words. If Mo Chenqing's life was in danger, the seal he placed on himself would be broken. At that time, this fellow would definitely return to cause trouble for them. So in this short moment, Yun Luofeng had already made a decision in his heart. Elder sister? When Yu Xianxian turned around, she found that Yun Luofeng had already stopped in her tracks. Before she could ask her question, she saw the woman gradually walking towards the little beggar. What did he steal from you? Just as everyone surrounded the little beggar, an evil voice suddenly came from the side, causing everyone to involuntarily turn their heads to look. And this voice to Mo Chenqing was like the sound of nature. His eyes instantly became wet. Zhu Qian, I knew that you wouldn't ignore me. I'll say it one more time. I am not Zhu Qian. Yun Luofeng fiercely threatened. If you say the wrong name again, I'll leave you alone. Mo Chenqing instantly fell silent. He no longer wanted to live this kind of life of being bullied by others without any strength. Following Yun Luofeng's side now was undoubtedly the best choice. Yun Luofeng's gaze turned to the crowd and he asked again, What exactly did he steal from you? The leader of the group was a shopkeeper. He smiled coldly and said, Not only did he come to our heavenly prayer tower to eat and drink for free without paying, but he also stole our elixirs. Nonsense. Mo Chenqing was furious. I did not eat and drink for free, I paid the bill. That spirit medicine was the money I gave you for the wine and food, yet you insist that I stole it. TSK, a beggar like you can have spirit medicine? What a great joke. Let me tell you, this spirit medicine of yours was stolen. Hurry up and hand over all the other spiritual medicines on you. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Mo Chenqing clenched his fists tightly, his face flushed red. If it was in the past, how could he have been bullied by such a person? It was all Yun Zhao's fault. If he hadn't lied to him, he wouldn't have sealed his own strength, and he wouldn't have fallen to such a state. When he thought of everything that had happened in the past, Mo Chenqing gnashed his teeth with hatred, and his belly full of resentment exploded forth. Hearing this, Yun Luofeng finally understood what had happened. As it turned out, this heavenly prayer tower was blatantly robbing them. She narrowed her eyes and swept her gaze across the group of people in front of her with a smile that did not reach her eyes. You say that he had stolen the spiritual medicine. Do you have any proof? The owner of the restaurant was obviously stunned for a moment, then said in a domineering manner, "As a beggar, if he didn't steal it, then where did he get these elixirs from? Those elixirs were naturally given to him by me." The corners of Yun Luofeng's lips curled. Mo Chenqing, it seems that those elixirs are not safe with you. You should return them to me. Mo Chenqing was stunned. Since when did she give away his spiritual medicine? However, Mo Chenqing still obediently took out all the spiritual medicine and placed it in front of Yun Luofeng. For you, all my spiritual medicine is here. Chapter 1919. That's right. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes and unceremoniously took all the spirit herbs. You're returning them to their rightful owners. Yu Xianxian stood next to Yun Luofeng, blinking her big eyes. She looked at the girl's smiling face and felt that she was no different from the shopkeeper of the begging heaven brothel. She seemed to be taking advantage of the situation. The shopkeeper of the begging heaven brothel had long been staring at the spirit herbs in Yun Luofeng's hands. He swallowed hard and shouted, "So you two are accomplices. Men, arrest these two people who dared to steal our heaven-begging abode's spirit medicine." At this point, the shopkeeper raised his head and arrogantly looked at Yun Luofeng. "You must have other spirit herbs on you. Hand them over now, and maybe I can let you live." Yun Luofeng glanced at the shopkeeper. "I've always been the one to steal from others. No one has ever taken a copper coin from me. Are you sure you want to do this?" "Humph." The shopkeeper snorted. His master was the third prince of the state of Tianqi. She was just a commoner girl. He could kill as many of such women as he wanted. However, on account of this woman's stunning beauty, he could give her to the third prince as a gift. "How dare you?" Yu Xianxian panicked when she saw that these people wanted to attack Yun Luofeng. She shouted and glared at the shopkeeper angrily. The shopkeeper only noticed Yu Xianxian's existence now and was stunned. Yu Xianxian was not only a daughter of the Lin family, but she also had the support of the second prince's residence. It was not good to offend her. Now that he was standing up for these two women, could it be that this woman knew her? "Oh, Yu Xianxian, I thought you were dead. Why have you recovered?" At this moment, a strange voice came from the side. This voice gave off a very uncomfortable feeling when it reached the ears of those who heard it. Yun Luofeng frowned and turned her head to look. In an instant, a feminine face fell into her eyes. The man in front of her was dressed in brocade clothes, but it could not hide his body that had been hollowed out by wine and women. His cheeks were deeply sunken and pale. "Sister, he is the third prince." Yu Xianxian's heart tightened, and she explained in a low voice. She had promised her brother-in-law that she would take a detour when she saw the third prince. She did not expect to bump into him so coincidentally. Although the Heaven Prayer restaurant was owned by the third prince was often reluctant to leave the Street of Fireworks and rarely visited the restaurant. "Yu Xianxian, you dare to come out instead of hiding at my second brother's place?" The third prince waved his folding fan, pretending to be elegant, and smiled sinisterly. "It's the order of our parents. Your father has already sent you to me as a concubine, but you're staying in the second prince's mansion without any reason. Do you really think that I'm easy to talk to?" Yu Xianxian's heart tightened, and her palms started to sweat. Her face was pale, and there was fear in her eyes. Yun Luofeng looked at the third prince, and the words that Qi Su had told her surfaced in her mind. In the kingdom of Tianqi, although the civil and military officials supported the second prince as the crown prince, the emperor was biased and wanted to support the third prince. Unfortunately, the third prince was useless, so all these years the two princes did not have a title, nor did they have a crown prince. Moreover, even concubine Qin's son was done by the third prince. Chapter 1920. Because if he could seize the opportunity to take over the drifting wind country, the officials would have nothing to say and he would naturally become the crown prince. Unfortunately, concubine Qin was unable to accomplish anything, and he became even more wary of Mu Jintian's love for Mu Shuixin. He had lost this battle miserably. Of course, how could a person who was obsessed with women like the third prince come up with a real solution? The only thing he could use was his usefulness as a man. Just as Yun Luofeng was thinking about Qi Su's words, the third prince's gaze landed on her face. In that instant, his eyes were filled with amazement and his heart seemed to be shaken. The woman in front of him was dressed in snow-white clothes and was as beautiful as a painting. Even the third prince, who had seen countless women, had never seen such a stunning beauty. If he could have such a beauty, he would even be willing to spend a night with her. "Yu Xianxian, it's fine if you don't want to be my concubine. Why don't you give your friend to me?" The third prince lifted his chin slightly and said arrogantly. Yu Xianxian was so angry that her face turned red. "Dream on. Sister Yun is my benefactor. Don't you dare have any ideas about her." "Yu Xianxian, I'm only asking you because I'm giving you face. Otherwise, do you think you can stop me?" The third prince smiled disdainfully. He didn't look at Yu Xianxian anymore. He raised his hand and was about to touch Yun Luofeng's face. "Beauty, seeing that you're so beautiful, I'll overlook your mistake as long as you're willing to serve me well." Mo Qianqing had been standing beside Yun Luofeng the entire time. When he saw the third prince's hand, his eyes flashed with anger. He suddenly sneered, his eyes full of mockery. This fellow even dared to touch her? Did he really not know how to spell the word death? The third prince didn't care. He could have as many women as he wanted in the country of Tianqi. How many women could resist the imperial power? However, just as his hand was about to touch Yun Luofeng's face, an evil and cold voice that seemed to come from hell slammed into his heart. "Were you talking about me just now?" Her voice was very cold, but it wasn't that kind of coldness. Instead, it was a kind of evil coldness. Just hearing her words was enough to make one's heart tremble in fear. Even the third prince's hand, which was about to touch Yun Luofeng's cheek, stopped on the spot because of this sentence. Yun Luofeng narrowed her eyes and looked at the finger in front of her. A cold light flashed across her eyes. Then, she pinched the man's wrist and exerted force. Ah! A heart-wrenching scream resounded through the entire street. Silence. The street in front of the heavenly prayer tower was silent. It was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. Everyone's eyes widened. Their eyes were filled with shock, astonishment, and deep disbelief. Yu Xianxian covered her mouth in astonishment, and her whole body started shaking. Of course, it was because of excitement. One had to know that no one in the kingdom of Tianqi dared to attack the third prince. After the excitement, she was filled with worry. Yun Luofeng injured the third prince, and the emperor doted on this son so much. He would definitely cause trouble for Yun Luofeng. No, she had to hurry back to discuss this matter with her brother-in-law and find out how to salvage the situation. Mo Qianqing's face was calm, and there was a cold smile on his face. The third prince of the kingdom of Tianqi was really tired of living for daring to attack this woman. "Sister." Yu Xianxian tilted her head and tugged at Yun Luofeng's sleeve worriedly. "Follow me back to the second prince's residence. The third prince will definitely take revenge on you." Chapter 1921. Yun Luofeng didn't seem to hear Yu Xianxian. She turned to look at Mo Qianqing. "Why are you here?" Mo Qianqing's face was full of resentment. "It's that bastard Ji Zhoutian's fault. I listened to you guys and went to find Ji Zhoutian. In the end, he happened to open this space. It's fine if he wanted to leave, but when he was about to leave, he pulled me along and dragged me to this place." Mo Qianqing was indignant. More importantly, I didn't have the chance to ask him. Ever since he came to this mainland, Mo Qianqing's life hadn't been easy. Plus, his powers were sealed, so he basically fled all the way here. Luckily, he was lucky and found a few spiritual herbs on a spiritual beast's corpse. Who knew that this would lead to all this? Yu Xianxian, go back first. Yun Luofeng glanced at Yu Xianxian and said, I need to go back to the inn. Chi-Su is still there. Even though the second prince had invited them to stay in the prince's residence, she still felt that it was inconvenient. Thus, she could only stay in the inn. Yu Xianxian's heart was filled with the third prince's revenge. She didn't force her to stay and nodded. Okay, Sister Yun, wait for me at the inn. Brother-in-law and I will think of a way for you. Then, she gritted her teeth and ran toward the second prince's residence. The only one who could help Sister Yun now was brother-in-law. Why are you still following me? Yun Luofeng asked coldly as he turned around and saw Mo Chenqing following behind him. She helped Mo Chenqing once because she didn't want these people to overreach themselves and let him break the seal. That would bring her trouble. Mo Chenqing paused and bit his lips. Ju, Yun Luofeng, I want to follow you. He was just about to call Yun Luofeng Ju Qian when he remembered what the woman said earlier and quickly stopped. Follow me? Yun Luofeng sneered. Are you sure you want to follow me? Mo Chenqing's eyes turned. You know that this mainland is dangerous. If you leave me alone, I will definitely be hunted down. Then, if I accidentally break the seal. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. Are you threatening me? I just want to follow you. It wasn't easy for that damned Yun Xiao to not be by her side. So how could he possibly let go of such a good opportunity? If you want to follow me, it's not impossible. The corners of Yun Luofeng's lips curled up slightly, forming an evil smile. It just so happens that I'm lacking a servant. If you can sweep the floor, do the laundry, cook, and clean the toilet, then you can stay. Mo Chenqing was stunned. Sweeping the floor, washing clothes, and cooking was fine, but cleaning the toilet? Could she tell him where the toilet was? Do you still remember the illusion Ju Qian left behind? I have already rebuilt it. My people are all cultivating in the illusion. From now on, the task of cleaning the illusion will be handed over to you. This way, my subordinates can focus on cultivating. The corners of Mo Chenqing's mouth twitched a few times, but he also understood that this was the only way for him to stay by her side. He took a deep breath and said, Okay, I'll do it. In any case, he no longer wanted to live this kind of life as a fugitive. It was safer to hide by her side. In reality, Yun Luofeng had her considerations for keeping Mo Chenqing. After thinking for a long time, she still felt that keeping this ticking time bomb by her side was the safest. Everything else was just a punishment for him. Chapter 1922. At the inn, Yun Luofeng had just walked into Chi-Su's room when she saw a subordinate of the Chi family walk out. She turned to look at the subordinate, then looked at Chi-Su. Chi-Su, how much of the elixir does the elixir gathering hall have left? Chi-Su was startled. I think there are more than 1,000 bottles. Okay, the elixir gathering hall will temporarily stop selling the elixir. I want you to wholeheartedly provide the second prince's army with the elixir. Yun Luofeng's voice was very serious, making Chi-Su's heart suddenly tense. What happened? Actually, it's nothing much. I just crippled the third prince. Yun Luofeng rubbed his nose and replied in a light and breezy manner. Chi-Su's mouth twitched a few times. His heart was suddenly shaken. She crippled the third prince? And she said it was nothing? His master's personality was really similar to his master's. His former master, no matter how strong the enemy he faced, was still calm and indifferent. It was as if he could block the sky with his hands even if it collapsed. Okay, I will now prepare more elixir for the second prince. Chi-Su took a deep breath. Her expression was rather helpless. Also, Yun Luofeng pointed at the youth behind him. This guy will follow you for now. Just let him sleep on the ground. Only then did Chi-Su see the silver-haired youth behind Yun Luofeng. The youth was very handsome and green. Even his ragged clothes could not conceal his entire temperament. He is. Chi-Su looked at Yun Luofeng curiously, as if he wanted to ask about this youth's background. Unexpectedly, before he could finish, he was interrupted by the youth's plaintive voice. I don't want to sleep in the same room with a man. Yun Luofeng, I want to sleep with you. Even if he slept outside her door, as long as he was close to her, that would be enough. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes dangerously and smiled wickedly. Do you think you have a choice? The youth was immediately silenced. His eyes were full of pity as he stared at Yun Luofeng like a resentful wife. Chi Su could see that there was something fishy about the two of them. In particular, the way the youth looked at Yun Luofeng was like a resentful wife who had been abandoned by an unscrupulous husband. There was no need to mention how pitiful and wronged he was. "Then, you won't leave me behind secretly, will you?" the youth asked weakly, who asked him to have no power now. If this was in the past, he would not be afraid of being abandoned. At worst, he would just chase Yun Luofeng wherever he went. Leave you behind? Let you be bullied and humiliated by the powerhouses of the wind and cloud continent until you finally broke the seal yourself? I'm not that stupid. Yun Luofeng coldly smiled. Chi Su, I'll leave the task of watching him to you. If he dares to make any strange movements, immediately come and tell me. Yun Luofeng walked slowly toward Mo Chenqing. As he lowered his eyes, the killing intent in them gradually surged. Mo Chenqing, I know I can't kill you now. However, if you want to touch Yun Xiao again, even if I have to risk my life and use everything I have, I will make sure that both of us suffer. She did not believe Mo Chenqing. He had never believed it. When this youth had appeared, he had wanted to kill her and Ji Jutian. If she had not impersonated Ju Qian, she would have already died in his hands. It was also because she had impersonated Ju Qian that Mo Chenqing had developed enmity towards Yun Xiao and wanted to kill Yun Xiao. That was why Yun Luofeng had allowed Chi Su to stay close to him. Mo Chenqing's body trembled. Chapter 1923. Of course, it wasn't because he was afraid. It was because Yun Luofeng's words had hurt his heart. Ju Qian was the person he didn't want to hurt the most in the past. Hence, at the last moment, he regretted it and was trapped in an illusion by Ju Qian. Even when he first attacked Yun Luofeng and Ji Jutian, it wasn't because of hatred, but because of resentment. He resented Ju Qian for so many years, and he resented Ju Qian even more for not coming to see him for so many years. However, Mo Chenqing understood that if it wasn't for his initial mistake, Ju Qian wouldn't have been so cruel to him. Hence, he was willing to use his entire life to make up for it. However, Mo Chenqing's heart was filled with jealousy when he thought of Yun Luofeng's words. He was jealous of Yun Xiao for being able to make her give her heart and treat him so well. At this moment, a commotion came from outside. Yun Luofeng frowned slightly and looked at Mo Chenqing. He said in a low voice, "You wait here. Chi Su, follow me out to take a look." Chi Su nodded and followed Yun Luofeng out. A group of soldiers rushed in from downstairs of the inn and surrounded the entire inn. The leader of the soldiers was dressed in armor and looked majestic. "We are here to arrest the criminal who injured the third prince. Unrelated people, leave immediately." As soon as he said this, the people who were originally standing in the inn fled in unison. It was also at this moment that the leader of the soldiers saw a woman dressed in white in the corridor of the second floor. "It's this woman. She injured the third prince." The manager of the Begging Heaven brothel walked out from among the soldiers and immediately pointed at Yun Luofeng as he shouted, "Men, take this woman down." The leader of the soldiers waved his hand and shouted loudly. In an instant, the soldiers pulled out their weapons at the same time and quickly surrounded Yun Luofeng and Chi Su in the corridor of the second floor. Yun Luofeng glanced at the soldiers who were rushing over, and his cold voice quickly reached everyone's ears. "I was indeed the one who crippled the third prince, because he deserved to be crippled." The leader of the soldiers nearly exploded in anger. He sneered and looked at the woman in the snow-white dress mockingly, his eyes full of mockery. This woman dared to be so arrogant in their kingdom of Tianqi. Did she really not know what courting death was? Seeing the soldiers rush up to the second floor, the people hiding in the private rooms also opened a gap and watched the situation outside. In an instant, Yun Luofeng's body was engulfed in red flames. The flames quickly turned into an eight-tailed firefox. The firefox opened its mouth and spat out a mouthful of flames. The soldier at the forefront was instantly annihilated by the flames. In the meantime, countless gold-seeking mice also appeared. They squeaked and bit anyone they saw, their sharp teeth piercing into the skin of the person they saw. TT appeared at the same time, its huge body pressing down on the group of soldiers. With an angry roar, flames shot out like fireballs crashing into their chests. The small tree and the bug did not appear. To them, a battle of this level was not worthy of them taking part. Little Mo had always been lazy. From the time he followed Yun Luofeng until today, he rarely fought on the battlefield. But he still appeared, sitting on the banister of the stairs, watching the play. Not to mention the others, even Chisu was stunned. He had followed Yun Luofeng for a few months, but this was the first time he had seen these spirit beasts. Moreover, each of these spirit beasts was very powerful. The leader of the soldiers was shocked, and a layer of cold sweat dripped down his forehead. He gritted his teeth and said, "Stupid girl, this is the kingdom of Tianqi. His Majesty will not let you off for hurting the third prince in the kingdom of Tianqi. Let's retreat." Chapter 1924. You want to leave? Seeing that the soldier was about to leave, Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a faint smile. "Do you think my place is a place where you can come and go as you please?" Boom! A powerful pressure pressed down on him. The soldier's legs trembled and he knelt on the ground. He was drenched in sweat and his face was pale. "What do you want?" "Kowtow and admit my mistake. A soldier can be killed, but not humiliated." The leader of the soldiers straightened his neck and said with a red face, "Is that so? If that's the case, then I'll kill you." Yun Luofeng quickly pulled out his long sword and threw it towards the leader of the soldiers. The soldier was so scared that he wet his pants. He hurriedly kowtowed. "Heroine, I was wrong. Please let me go." What was dignity worth in order to live? Nothing was more important than living. The sword suddenly stopped. The sharp tip of the sword was only a millimeter away from his neck. If he had kowtowed a little later, blood would have spilled on the spot. Even so, the soldier was still so scared that his face turned pale. He felt that death was so close to him that he found it difficult to breathe. "Speak. Who sent you here?" Yun Luofeng looked up. "The third prince's subordinates should not be as weak as you. Don't look at how useless the third prince was. In reality, the emperor loved him so much that he would definitely send elites to protect him. And this group of people were just some ordinary soldiers. Their strength was extremely weak. It's the second daughter of the Gen family. She came to complain that you injured the third prince. We came here on our own to curry favor with the third prince." The second daughter of the Gen family? Gen-yi? Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. It seemed that the Gen family was also outside the Begging Heaven Pavilion just now. And at that time, he only noticed Mo Qianqing. He didn't see anyone else. Thinking of this, Yun Luofeng's eyes swept across the crowd and saw Gen-yi. Her face was pale with fright and her body trembled slightly. Even if this group of soldiers was weak, Gen-yi didn't think that Yun Luofeng would have the guts to threaten these soldiers and say her name. The funny thing was, Gen-yi had forgotten that since Yun Luofeng dared to beat up the third prince, what else wouldn't she do? The brain was indeed a good thing, but not everyone had it. Noticing Yun Luofeng's gaze, Gen-yi was so frightened that she wanted to run away. However, the moment she turned around, a fiery figure blocked her way. A little girl in red smiled at her. "My master hasn't allowed you to leave yet." "Who allowed you to leave?" Gen-yi shouted angrily. He waved his hand and was about to hit the little girl. "Get lost!" Hearing this, the little loli's face darkened. With a loud bang, her fist landed on Gen-yi's body, sending her flying into the inn. She landed right next to Yun Luofeng's feet. Since fire had appeared in the form of an eight-tailed fire fox at the beginning, Gen-yi had never thought that the little loli in front of him was the ferocious fire fox. Gen-yi rubbed her arm, which was hurting from the fall, and wanted to get up from the ground. But the moment she raised her head, she saw a pair of cold, black eyes. In that instant, with a loud bang, her brain was about to explode. Yun Luofeng crossed his arms over his chest and looked at Gen-yi with a smile that wasn't a smile. "I already knew that your Gen family wouldn't let this matter rest. But I didn't think that you would use such a stupid method. Could it be that you think that these soldiers can subdue me?" Chapter 1925. From Yun Luofeng's words, Gen-yi could hear another layer of meaning. This woman had never placed the Jian family in her eyes from beginning to end. She did not exterminate the Jian family that night, not because she was afraid of the royal family that the Jian family relied on, but because she did not think that the Jian family could cause her any trouble. Jian Yi panicked. She was well aware of her father's hatred for Yun Luofeng, but she had a feeling that the Jian family could not defeat this woman. No, not only the Jian family, but perhaps even the royal family could not defeat her. In her entire life, Jian Yi was smart for once. Alas, it was too late. Qi Su, go to the Jian family and inform them that if they want Jian Yi's life back, they will have to use the 2 spirit medicine mountain ranges of the Jian family to exchange for it. Didn't the Jian family spy on the Qi family's spirit medicine mountain range? Then now, she wanted Jian Bowen to personally spit out the 2 mountain ranges and deliver them to her personally. Jian Bowen is such a greedy person. Will he agree to this condition? Qi Su was stunned, his tone filled with doubt. Yun Luofeng smiled. He will agree because he only has one daughter, Jian Yi, who is of some value. Although Jian Yi had a big chest, she was very beautiful. In addition, of the 3 daughters of the Jian family, one was dead and one was crippled. Only Jian Yi was still alive. If Jian Bowen wanted to use this daughter to exchange for greater benefits, then he would definitely be willing to give up 2 spirit medicine mountain ranges. Fire, you and the rats guard Jian Yi, don't let her escape. After giving these instructions, Yun Luofeng let Cha-Cha return to the divine grimoire space first, then returned to his room. At this time, she still did not know that a storm had been stirred up in the court of the state of Tianqi. The throne room. Qi Ba sat on the dragon throne, his face solemn and his eyes cold. Second brother, where is the woman who injured third brother? Hand her over immediately. Qi Ling's expression did not change. Father, this is third brother's fault. If he did not want to molest Miss Yun, she would not have retaliated. Impudent! Qi Ba shouted angrily. Third brother is a prince, what wrong did he do? In our opinion, it's all because that woman doesn't have self-respect. A fly doesn't bite a seamless egg. If it wasn't for her lack of self-respect, how could Lao San possibly target her? In Chibahi's eyes, when a man took a fancy to a woman, it was because that woman was unbearably slutty. Otherwise, why would the third prince not take advantage of others, but instead set his eyes on her? Wasn't she the one who seduced the third prince? All the civil and military officials shook their heads and sighed, their faces filled with disappointment. Although His Majesty had not been wise in the past, he had not been so muddle-headed and tyrannical. Now, his actions had truly broken everyone's hearts. Qi Lingjin clenched his fists. He knew that his father was biased, but he did not know that his father was biased to such an extent that he could not tell right from wrong. Father, is it wrong for a woman to be beautiful? Because of her beauty, she was taken advantage of, but she declared that the man is innocent and the fault lies with the woman? Qi Ling laughed coldly. How innocent are all the women in the world? To bear such a groundless accusation?